So they just outlawed it in England and France.
Oh.
5 years in prison if you get caught with Zyn.
No.
5 years in prison. Meanwhile, they are letting like walk around their country like freely, no problem.
And stab people.
Why would they outlaw Zyn? What does it do? Is it
I
addictive?
literally have no idea. It's probably some sort of safety thing, some like nanny state safety thing. We have to protect you from yourself.
Wow.
Type of deal. But I don't know. That's crazy.
Okay,
Hopefully
so
that doesn't happen here. There's no way because the entrenched interests here are too big.
Yeah.
And I think the money is too big.
I mean,
if they're
Zyn's
not even
the big-
banning cigarettes, you would ban cigarettes first.
So Zyn is the biggest brand. What's a follow up to them?
There's Zyn. Do you know the TPPN guys?
No.
From Lucy?
I know Lucy.
One of them's
Yeah.
from Lucy. So Lucy's another one. They had an exit that was pretty big with that, and then they started that live stream. It was basically the first tech live stream, to where they go 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday.
What are they streaming?
And then just tech news. And then they sold. So check out their YouTube right now and their views. And then I'm going to tell you something.
Okay, I've seen these guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see their views.
33,000.
They sold to
54,000.
They sold to OpenAI for like
I just saw this.
$100 to $300 million. So if you need proof that like live and interactive, similar to what Hermosi's been talking about, is like a big thing, and you can tell by their sponsors, they have the same sponsors as like Acquired and David Senra. They're doing $30 million a year in sponsors. They got to be running 80% margin.
Yeah.
So they're just printing. But I think it's like live interactive's huge. The other thing that I think is really big, and this is kind of how I'm thinking about content now, is I just think the audience, like the quality of the audience matters so much more than the views.
Agreed.
Like I'm just trying to get like the people who are in my mastermind who do over 10 million a year. Like I want to talk to those people.
Yeah.
You know? And of course there's other people.
But how
who
do
are-
you get to that? You have to bring in a mass amount of people and then filter them down, or you filter them
I don't
down
know.
before
I
you
feel
communicate
like the
with them?
algorithm is good. You know, like Hormozzi's thing, he started that Clips channel.
Yeah.
And it gets like maybe 1,000 views a video. His other thing is going to get like 500,000 views.
Right.
He does twice the amount of revenue from his Clips channel.
Yeah, I believe it.
Just like posting the very, very specific stuff. And so, yeah, I think if the content's good, the algorithm's good at finding people who have it.
It's an interesting thing. So one of my best friends, Jerry Norton, I don't know that you know him. He's in the real estate space, big name in the real estate space. And a real estate YouTube channel, a good real estate YouTube channel, hits 100,000 subscribers max. Like that's a
Really?
good channel. Yeah. There's only probably half a dozen that have ever hit a million.
What's Ken McElroy at?
He's at like 400,000.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, Ken's the best.
Yeah.
Ken is one of my mentors. Love him. And his channel does like 30, 40,000 views per video, but he's a little bit more broad.
He's more macro.
He's a little bit more macro, but he's highly intelligent. So he brings in who? What does he want? He wants accredited investors only.
Yeah.
So he only speaks to an accredited investor.
Yeah.
My channel, I have more subscribers, and I used to stress out, and I would go to Jerry Norton and go, bro, like my views are 5 to 10,000. He's like, yeah, but your revenue is 100 million. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it right. You're finding your target audience. People are coming into your business. And it's a hard thing to do, to have that tug of war in your brain of like vanity metrics over revenue. And also, if I don't have the vanity metrics, how do I know it's tied to revenue? It's just, I think data has gotten a lot better in the last couple of years, so it allows us to do it. Who are you trying to target primarily?
So mainly somebody who has an online, I call it like, I don't like calling it the high ticket industry. I feel like that sounds like a scam.
Yeah.
So I call it the online services economy because nobody's really, we used to call it info. Well, nobody's selling just pure information. Like you can barely give away a free course on YouTube.
Right.
So I call it the online services economy because we all have to evolve from just information to implementation, which you've done a really good job at. And whether that's like a done for you service element or you're adding a lot of community or you're adding a lot of coaching, it's a service, right? So I want that industry. And then ideally, I mean, like I said, 10 million a year plus that's a smaller subset of people. I would actually refine that to say, from $100,000 a month to $1 million a month is usually kind of my audience. But if I can put out a video, like I know I'm hitting the right thing. If I can put out a video and guys who I respect are like, dude, that was a sick video.
Yeah.
But I only need, our mastermind's like 70K. I only need 10 of those a month to do 10 million from just the channel. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and your mastermind is freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's higher level. I like it because the best events you can have are events where you can go and you're leading the event and have fun, but then you learn stuff.
Yeah.
And like I usually have like 5 to 10, like my team's like, Jesus Christ, dude. But like we can't implement all this at once. But I'm like, I have all these ideas from my own event that I want to implement because, my clients might look to me for like sales ops and sales or whatever, but they might do a marketing thing that's really interesting. Or I might just be, how it is sometimes you just listen to somebody and it just gets you thinking about your business and then you start popping off. It might not even have anything to do with the talk.
Right.
It's just like you're getting information and then that
Bolt
input
of lightning.
It creates an output.
Yep. Bolt of lightning changes your life. Somebody says something that spurs on a thing and it grows another idea. Your mastermind is really high level. I've spoken at it once. How do you get people in? Are you running cold traffic? Or are you doing
so what's
primarily
interesting
organic?
is we're unique because most masterminds, if you've kind of been around the space and you speak at a lot of them, they start and they're like the hot thing and everybody joins. And then it kind of evolves into, like the usual suspects, and it's kind of almost like everybody's trying to like speak and get clients, and it kind of deteriorates a little bit. And then like there's a new mastermind, and then that's like the thing for a while. So we do it very differently because we bring in people for sales recruiting, or in some cases if they like need a little help with lead gen to get a salesperson on board, we help them with their marketing, and then we kind of home grow these people. And then once they hit 100K a month, that's the barrier. Then we invite them in. So all of our people, they're like not people who attend masterminds. And that's what I always tell the speakers is because it's like there is a couple people, like Steve was there, for instance, when you spoke, but there's a couple people that are people who go to a lot of masterminds. By and large, these people have never been to any other masterminds in our space. So it's like the first thing that they've been to. So pretty much 90% of it is homegrown, which is good because I don't want to be kind of like the hot girl for a while with a mastermind. And then it's like, because once you've been in a mastermind for like 3 years, it's got to be pretty good to keep staying.
Yeah.
Right? Like you kind of get used to it. You see the same people.
You've already tapped into the relationships.
You maybe spoke, and then you're like, okay, I kind of know what this is. Oh, there's this new thing over here. I go over here. Yeah. So we get that, and then I try to bring people.
I wish it wasn't that way. way.
Yeah, I think to be candid, I think if it was ran, I'm not saying people don't run them. It's hard. But I think if you can really cultivate a good community, that's how you get the longer stick because of the relationships.
Yeah.
But it's tough, especially when you deal with higher level business owners because, they're just like, they're not as like engaged. You got to really like, get them engaged, if that makes sense.
They also are so busy that they can't handle 3 days of a mastermind of just pure information.
Yes.
And I've been to masterminds where I've spent $100,000 in a year, $250,000 in a year. And the thing they do wrong is it's 3 days of just pouring information into you. And you're just like, bro, give me 2 hours of information. Give me 20 hours of networking with other guys. Like that's the main thing. So good masterminds are like very interactive and you get to hang out with each other. Mm-hmm. Seems like your mastermind does a really good job of that.
Yeah, it's balanced. So I find the guys who are more experienced want to do more networking. Yeah. They want to have a side conversation with somebody else doing $10 million a year and they're like, that's what I need. I'm good.
Yep.
Right? The people maybe at $100,000 to $300,000 a month, they're like, I have this problem in my business and I need to fix this by the time I leave. So we kind of try to do it a little bit half and half. Yeah. So it's like half the day content, half the day, hey, let's go do something. Because if you can get especially guys, like we bond through going and doing a thing.
Yeah.
Women can like sit there and talk, right? We have to like go do a thing, whether that's outside or a sport
animal,
or whatever.
Jump out of a helicopter
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, we do the same thing. The mastermind that I run, it's 600 people. And we do 2 hours in the morning. The rest of the day is sessions where we break out and we do things.
Yeah.
Day 2 is nothing but an activity. Like we're renting out a ranch, we're doing horseback riding, we're doing bucking broncos, we're doing all crazy stuff.
That's sick.
And it's cool. And I wish you could go to somebody that's brand new and go, you need to network through your problems because there's people in here that solved them 2 years ago.
Yep.
But they don't think that, right? The newer people that are hitting $100,000 a month are like, no. But like, Cole, you need to just give me the solution right now.
Yeah, they think you have it. But
and
there's a collective wisdom in the room that's much greater than you or I.
And that relationship will go way beyond that room, which is what you've curated, right? That room is what you've curated. That's the value you provided. If all you do is you give them a 1 hour session to solve their problem, well, that's all the access they have is that 1 hour. But if they met somebody through an activity, then they go on and they have a perpetual relationship for 3 or 4 months. Hey, I did the thing. I'm now stuck on this thing. They don't have to wait for the next mastermind. They can actually get that problem solved. And I wish you could like wave a magic wand and convince people.
I always tell people value extraction is the responsibility of the client.
Yes.
Right? That's a quote from J. Abraham.
Yes.
So if you have that idea, because here's the difference. Like me or you are the type of people to where we're not afraid to ask.
Yeah.
So we'll just go in and it's like every single person, I'm like, yeah, this is the 1 or 2 things I need.
Yeah.
And then you do that a couple of times through a couple of connections and then like you got it.
Yeah.
But I think when it's your first mastermind, you're maybe not the biggest person in the room. I think they're afraid to ask.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really as simple as that.
And they'll sit there with a notepad and they'll just go, well, I'm just supposed to be given everything. And I guess
Yeah.
I'm just here to listen.
But value extraction is the responsibility of the client. So if you have that and you're like, because it's almost the mindset of anybody you get coaching from or join a mastermind from or anything like that, you want to be like, it's almost like a competition. You're like, I'm going to extract more value out of this thing than anybody else here. And you're sort of, it's like you're inner competing with yourself in a little bit of how much value you can extract out of it, even if maybe you join something and it sucks.
Yeah.
There's probably, I mean, you can learn what not to do.
Bro,
you can
I
create
had
an
this-
inversion list.
I had this YouTube idea a couple of years ago where I thought I should do a video on every mastermind that people said sucked. I should join that mastermind and extract value out of it.
That's such a good idea.
And be like, everybody that said this thing was a 1-star review of whatever, and I went in the thing and made $1 million. And here's
Yeah.
what I did, right?
Yeah.
Or a coaching course or whatever else. Because like, especially in the real estate space, there's a lot of people peddling piece of shit courses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, again, the value, you're supposed to extract the value, right? The client is supposed to extract the value. And I'm like, dude, I could take $100 course and make $1 million from it.
Yeah.
I just could, because my personality type. Same
Yeah.
thing with you. And I wanted to show the audience that, but I'm like, that's a lot of work, and 4 people will watch that, and it doesn't actually lead to anything that's actually valuable. So I didn't do it. But anyway, that's a bar. Value extraction is the responsibility of the client.
I know, it's good.
It's a good one. Okay, so sales. You've helped me build my sales team. You and
Yeah.
I didn't work directly together. You worked with like
Years
Chad.
ago, Chad, yeah.
And Chad's right here in the office. We have a team. Most of them are in-house now. We have about 60 enrollment directors.
Nice.
And we wouldn't be here without you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
That
thank
was
you for
early
all-
days. I remember I was working with Chad when he was like, we have this new thing. It's called Sub 2. And I said, okay, what is it? And he was like, oh, it's creative finance, la, la, la. It's all right. And he's like, yeah, we're launching it next week. It's going to be pretty big. I'm like, okay. The next meeting, he's like, it's doing $800,000 a month. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I think it was one of the fastest to 10 million of all time.
Yeah, of all time.
Yeah.
Well, what I did is I did not want to be a coach for 4 years.
Uh-huh.
And so I prevented my audience from ever having access to me in any paid fashion. So what I did is I did free meetups all over the country, and I would just help people get their deals done. And I
Yeah.
provided more value to anybody. And I didn't do it in a methodical, I'm going to give you this and you're going to join a thing. And in 2019, Josiah came to me and he says, you should be a coach. I go, I'll never be an effing coach. Like, don't ever call me that ever again. I'm going to build a community, and I'm building one right now.
Right.
This is before anybody stole the word community. Now everybody uses that word, which
yeah.
is fine. And it is what everybody should be doing. And so we're like 2019. He goes, okay, well, if I helped you build that community, I don't even know what that means, but if I helped you build this community, let's go do this thing. So I had a free Facebook group. Dude, I would spend 3 o'clock till like 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning in my garage, so my wife didn't hear me, answering every question with a video answer. Like I did that for years. So when we launched Sub 2, I think we did like $500,000 in sales over a weekend with no ad spend. I don't think we spent any money on ads for like almost 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
And we had such a need for enrollment directors to just pick up the phone. We needed you. Yeah. Like we literally needed you.
Probably pretty easy sales for those guys.
It was, but also like you helped us build our team over all those years as well. And then there's a lot of people that learn from you, or they go through your guys' academy and then they come and work for us or what have you. Whether it's setters or enrollment directors or whatever it may be, you have built a big part of my business. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
How did you jump into this business, by the way?
So I started, the long story is I started basically wanting to go to medical school. And so I was studying dietetics, and I was going to like.
Was
go
it because
pre-med.
you thought that was like?
So I thought that was the traditional doctor, lawyer. That you take
This
the
was me,
steps.
dude.
You
I
take
thought the
the
same
steps,
thing.
you make money. I just didn't know,
Yeah.
right? And I was always like in college, really good. I mean, I went from being a terrible student to just reeling off 4.0s. Just had like a big mindset shift, and that kind of was like when I first got into personal development. Then what happened was I was a bartender in college, so I was at the bar. It was during winter break, so all the kids were gone, but I had to man the bar. I was one of the managers. And it's me and this hobo, and I'm serving him Little Kings. Okay, he was from North Dakota. Okay, so I'm talking to this guy, giving him the Little Kings, skunked beer. I don't know why this guy was drinking it. I guess it was because it was $1 or whatever. And I'm reading this book called How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. And I'm reading this as like, it's just me and him in the bar. There's nobody there. I got 8-hour shifts, so I got to close the whole thing down. Like we close at like, 3 in the morning or whatever. And so I basically finished that book in one sitting. And it's kind of like an entertaining book. It's not necessarily like you're going to, like you wouldn't read it now and probably get a ton of resources. But the thing I got from it is he literally says like, if you just want to make money, like if it's your vocation, be a doctor, lawyer, whatever. If you want to make money, be an entrepreneur. And this is before like Instagram culture, right? So I'm like, entrepreneur, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. So long story short, I was like, okay, I finished school because I had like 6 months left. I didn't do medical school. I started a nutrition blog. And when I started this nutrition blog, I didn't know how to get people to like the page. So I was like, I got to start studying traffic. I started studying traffic. I started loving that. Started an agency. And then when I got into the agency, the only thing I was good at was sales. I sucked at everything. So I basically lost all my money with the agency, went broke, moved in with my parents. And then I was like, okay, if I go broke, I'm going to get into sales. Got into sales, and then that was history. I basically did a couple sales jobs. And then from there, went on to start the sales training and recruiting company.
I mean, everybody knows you in our industry.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you. Like what year was this?
So I would have started in 2014, 15. By the time I got into sales, that'd have been early 17. And then I started my company at the end of 19.
Okay, cool. So we had just come in contact with you right as you were launching.
No, it would have been 2020. It was like spring of 2020.
Yeah.
So I had a good year under my belt.
Okay, yeah.
Because when I first started the sales
We launched June of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our team had just reached out to you at the time.
Yeah.
Like for the first time?
Well, I knew Nick from a long. How did I know
Thank
Nick?
goodness, Nick.
I think I knew Nick from a long time ago, and that's how I.
Because Nick's worked with a bunch of people. Like he's
I'm
worked
trying
with
to think of how I met Nick, but I knew Nick
in a
from
mastermind or something, probably.
Yeah, we went back. I think it was because I sold for Chris Taylor at the time, and he was with Sam Ovens.
Yeah.
So we were like competitors, and we kind of knew each other. That's kind of like what I think it was.
Okay, so let's talk about sales
Yeah.
because I do agree. Sales is the number one way to go make money. If I'm brand new watching this for the first time, I'm 22, I'm 20, I'm 18, I've got a lot of 18-year-olds that DM me like, Pace, how should I go get my first real estate deal? I'm like, get into sales, bro. Start making some money.
Yeah.
Then jump into real estate as like a side thing. Don't make real estate your full-time thing, especially as an 18-year-old. Like get money in your bank account. Do you feel like sales is something you can acquire or is it something you're born with?
Well, I would say that just like, okay, if you're 6'7", you have a higher potential to be an NBA player, right? Like Jeremy Minor, I think he has a tonality that is like the best I've ever heard. And I don't know if anybody can replicate it as good as him.
Yeah.
But can you get to an 8 out of 10 in sales and can you acquire that skill? Absolutely. Most people, they just think they ascribe sales to like their identity. So it's like, you hope people say, well, Pace, I'm just not a salesperson, right? They're ascribing it to their identity. And they don't think about it like, if you can learn math, you can learn sales. I'm not saying you can be like the most persuasive person on the planet or something, but you don't have to be me or have to be you to probably make $300,000 to $400,000 in sales. Like you could you could just be a regular person and acquire the skill. So I think people need to think about it as a skill, but so many people, they ascribe their identity to it. Same with building a sales team. I'm just not a sales trainer. Well, it's like, you don't have to be like as good as me. You just have to be the world's best person at selling your thing. That's it. Right? It's just your thing. And then you just got to transfer that skill to somebody else and just have basic leadership,
I'm brand new to sales. What should I go sell? And how much money do you think I could make selling that thing in my first year?
The number one thing is I would get in and I would not worry about like the income potential of the position. You just want to first acquire the skill because income traces skills over time. Right? Like the more skills you build, eventually, once you get into the right opportunity vehicle, it's like a whip shot, it'll come up. And if you have no sales experience whatsoever, the easiest thing to get into, honestly, because it'll also teach you the mindset and the grit, is just door to door. And I wish I would have done that when I started. But I started, my first sales position. And this was after I essentially shut down my agency and I was like, I have no money, I gotta get into sales. We sold lead generation training, but for whatever reason, our target market was real estate agents that were specifically above 60 years old. So, well, I don't know, it's just what we did. And so these people, as you could imagine, were not the easiest to sell.
Hell
and
no.
they would, I don't know if they watched a VSL or how they were getting on the call, but they would not know why they were there. They would not know what this was. They'd be like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how I'm here. Just give me the price. And I'd be like, well, you don't even know what this is. But yeah, so that taught me, and I didn't know what a bad lead was. Like in hindsight, those were pretty bad leads. I just thought, these are leads. So I learned how to sell on tough people. But I would get in with something like door-to-door and just get the experience, get the grit.
So like pest control, alarm, roof, stuff like that.
Yeah. And even like pest control would be perfect. Like that's not too hard. Alarm would be perfect, not too hard. Even roofing, I mean, that's a little bit more aggressive. But if you can figure that out, you can go right in, because roofing is mainly like a sales business for the most part. Because correct me if I'm wrong, most times when they close the transaction, they're subcontracting that.
Every time.
Every single time. So who are the people who are the best at roofing and in solar?
Marketing and
sales. So get in when you're 18, acquire those skills, knock some doors, canvas. Okay, get a little bit good at digital marketing. Next thing you know, you could be 25 and then you got it down and all you got to do is go out there and make it rain and do your own thing. And then you subcontract out the work to somebody else. So you set yourself up, and that's how those skills, even if you only made $50K when you were 18 to 24, you're building all these skills, and then you switch the opportunity vehicle, the income catches up to the skills over time.
I agree with all of that. Yeah, I think that it's an acquired skill for sure. There's definitely people that are natural at it. Like somebody like you're verbose, you're very articulate, you're a storyteller, and I think that's probably a little bit natural to people like you and me. I naturally really like people, and I love being curious about them. So that's a big part of sales, obviously. Other people have a hard time opening up at the beginning, but once you understand the approach and you have the structure to it, anybody can actually do this.
Yeah. And it also depends on the type of sales. So like a consultative sale, like I have a client who helps women who are going through perimenopause with their functional medicine and, get on the right, like HRT and peptides and whatever. That's the type of thing where like, you don't want to be a yipper yapper salesperson, right? Who's super high energy or whatever. But maybe it's door to door. Maybe it's a different thing. Maybe you're making $400 a day. It's also, that can be, so you can kind of match it. Similar to how you were saying, you match your clients to the type of real estate they should be doing. I think a lot of people getting into sales should map out the type of sales they're doing to their personality. Because some people are really great with just like pounding the dials. Some people are great with door to door. Some people are great with more of a consultative type of approach. Like introverts are really good with the consultative stuff, actually. Like, I think it's INTJ. What is it? INTJ, the Myers-Briggs. There's ENTJ. Okay, INTJs are probably the best archetype of like high-ticket closers because they're really good at listening and intuiting.
Asking questions, not being the main person talking.
Yeah.
Okay. How is AI going to change sales?
I think for basic, so I look at it in phases. The first thing I think about is, let's say your Amex is blocked. You call the number on the Amex and you got to talk to this person who transfers you to this person, transfers you to I wish that was AI right now.
Yeah.
Like that's a brutal experience.
Yeah.
But that's not even been fully displaced yet. Maybe for compliance purposes, I don't know. Like I feel like AI could do that better right now. But that's the first thing that's going to go. The second thing kind of along with that is if you're a doctor's office and it's basic like answering the phone, appointment setting, lead nurture, if you book from a Facebook ad or whatever, through text, that's already there, like AI SMS.
And we as humans prefer that anyway. Like I don't need to talk to
you. Don't need to talk to somebody. So that's gone, right? The next thing, so if you're in that area, that's pretty alarming. Now, I'm not too worried because, I think it'll happen quickly, but I'm going to start really kind of being worried when I see all these call center people getting laid off because that's going to be huge layoffs. You'll hear about it, and that hasn't happened yet, but that's going to happen for sure. Then this layer is kind of already gone. The next layer, I think, is going to be a lot of software. Like if you, let's say, book a sales call with HubSpot, GHL, et cetera, most of the salespeople who demo the product, it's just bad. Like they're not that good. You just kind of want to know how the product works, how it works with can it integrate with this? Hey, we do this. I think like there'll be AI interactive demos and a lot of software people who are very AI based.
Gosh, I never thought about that.
Well, a lot of software people who are very AI based too. They'll be excited to buy from other software people.
Yeah. And
then you've heard of like the whole MCP market. So like agent to agent commerce, I think by 2032 is supposed to be 20% of all commerce or something along those lines. There's so like a lot, if you want a software like a CRM or whatever, your agent will know everything about your business. You'll send your agent out there. It'll talk to another agent from the software company and it'll talk to a bunch of different agents from software companies and it'll make a decision. So I think that's in jeopardy too. Plus those tech companies want to, they want to aggressively out of anybody move most to AI. In terms of like, I think the stuff that's safer, I'm not saying it couldn't get replaced, is the next level would be, let's say, basic appointment setting with a lot of stuff that I do. So like, again, like my functional medicine client who helps people through perimenopause, does that lady who probably is scared of AI, has been maybe like, she's like, is AI phishing or whatever, does she want to have a setting conversation, let alone a closing conversation about the coach she's going to be working with that program through AI? Probably not right now. So I think the higher ticket stuff, or if it's like a 9-month enterprise type of sales cycle where there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving parties, a lot of bureaucracy, I think that's on the safer side. The safest, I would say, is, if you have to get on the roof and inspect the roof and then go to the kitchen table and sell, mom and pop on whatever, I think that's very safe. I think if you're a HVAC tech and you're going and doing the service call, inspecting the unit, okay, hey, it's going to be either $2,000 right now, or it's going to be maybe in 2 years, $10,000 to replace the entire thing. It's a kitchen table type of conversation, or the comfort advisor that comes in and actually closes that unit. I think that's the safest stuff. Probably just because they could do that. It could be all through robotics. But if AI is already, if it's that far, if it can go in and make an HVAC sale, then like, dude, just put me on UBI. Like, I don't know. We're living in a different world at that point.
Yeah.
So, that's the way I look at it. So there's kind of like different
I agree
phases.
with all of that.
Yeah.
I think that for me on my safe side is I feel very lucky that I'm in real estate, because real estate is a weird sale.
Yeah.
It's a weird sale in the sense that, like, for my main motion in sale is that I'm going after RV parks.
Right.
I weirdly am actually the customer. Like, if you think about it, I'm buying the thing from that seller. I am therefore the customer.
Right.
That's freaking weird.
Yeah.
And so I have to learn how to utilize sales to convince somebody to sell me their shit.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And do they want to? And most of your deals, are they looking to sell?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they are looking to sell, but you're.
If
yeah.
I'm brand new, let's say I'm brand new, somebody out here, you see my like 300 members in my community out here, right?
Yeah.
If I'm brand new, I am going to go after people that are already actively trying to sell. So they have a broker representing them.
Right.
So now I have to sell myself with that broker, convince them that I'm credible. I can close the transaction. I know what I'm doing, et cetera. So there's a sale process there. But when I get a little bit more advanced, I'm reaching out directly to sellers based on a filter. So we've got to go out and we go, okay, all the people in the country that have owned parks for 25 plus years, they only own one park. Tells you that they never knew how to manage beyond one park.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right? You kind of filter down and you're looking for the mom and pop that is probably looking for retirement. Then you're calling them and going, hey, I want to upgrade you from the landlord to the lender, and you seller finance this thing to me and I can get you out of this business. There's a lot of sales there. I don't see AI touching any of that where I'm convincing somebody to sell me a $5 million asset on seller finance.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. The only thing I think it would touch is, are they going to put the contracts through AI? Or are they going to be like, I'm buying a house right now for my parents to retire in, local. And it's been so easy this time, just like punching every single, because I'm like busy. I'm like, I just don't want to deal with this. Just punching it into AI. I mean, the crazy, dude, when I uploaded I had my dad culminate everything from the inspection, sewer scope, HVAC inspection, roof inspection, just with pictures, everything, put it in the Claude Code in a folder. And it's just like perfect.
So good.
And so.
Are you working with an agent on this deal?
Yeah.
And they're almost not needed?
I mean, they're needed for like you would know better than me. I don't know the real estate transaction
You're
process
the buyer, so you have a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
You actually don't really need a buyer's agent.
Probably not.
The listing agent protects the seller from getting screwed by you.
Yeah.
And the buyer's agent is just there to like do whatever you want them to do.
But I'm not paying the buyer's agent to list. The seller pays the buyer's agent.
There's an argument
right?
there. That's a completely different conversation. I do agree with you. The seller is paying that, but effectively it gets wrapped up into your sales price.
I'm kind of paying for it.
Yeah,
anyways.
you're paying for it.
I probably don't. For me,
it's good to have one. I'm not saying remove them. I'm just
yeah.
saying in 10 years, I think AI will be so good on the buyer's agent side
I
that
think so
this
too.
process, you're already doing most of the work.
Yeah.
I think the buyer's agents are going to get removed.
Yeah. I think for me, I just want to spend so little time doing this without while making the best decision I can. So I'm like, whatever, I'll just pay 2.5% more or however it gets wrapped
I
in
think
there.
it's gonna stick around for a long time.
I do agree with you. With the RV parks, so are you doing that partly with this thesis from like how the K-shaped economy is looking and it's only getting worse? Mm-hmm. Because everybody's talking about the affordability issue.
Yeah.
And what's weird about the talk about the affordability issue is nobody, like, people say it's big tech, or they wrap it into AI, or they wrap it into the government's not doing enough and the government, we need to tax more and all this stuff. What nobody talks about is just currency debasement. I mean, if you look at it since we went off the gold standards at the end of Bretton Woods, basically just wages have gotten destroyed by inflation. And I mean, that's why people can't afford anything. And then COVID was an accelerant to that.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're so much in debt. I don't know how. I mean, what are we going to do? Default, or are we going to inflate it away? We're probably going to inflate it away. So I don't see how, even with, let's say, a really even like socialist level administration in like 2029 or 2028 or whatever, I don't see how it's going to go away. I mean, you can raise the taxes, but if you keep printing money, it's just the people who hold assets are just going to hold their assets.
Yeah.
And those are the people who are going to fuel the economy. And so the RV parks, is that kind of along that thesis?
So mobile home parks, RV parks, small multifamily. And then if I am doing single family, which I have 300 single family in my portfolio, but most of the single family are being converted into rent by the room. So like even people can't even afford regular rents right now.
That's wild.
Bro, it's so bad. Like you look in 2000, when I first started, 2013 to 2020, right before COVID hit, regular rentals were a viable business model as an investor. Like I'm going to buy these, I'll have a regular rental, just, whatever market rent rates are. My mortgage I took over is $2,000. I'm renting it for $2,900. I make a couple $100 a month. People can't afford anything anymore. And so what's happening is a lot of us single family investors have pivoted away from just regular rentals. And we're saying, let's turn every single family house into a multifamily environment.
Wow.
So we get rid of the living room, the dining room, the garage, and we take a 3-bed, 2-bath house and turn it into a 9-bed, 2-bath house.
Holy crap. That's wild.
Bro, it's taking over. So like when you have time, padsplit.com, I don't own it. I don't get paid from them, but PadSplit is now nationwide, and they're taking single family investors' houses and they're saying, let's just turn that thing into a little multifamily and we'll rent it out by the room for $800 a room.
Yeah.
And so you take a house, I'll give you a good example. I've got 1,000 questions for you, so we don't want to make it about me, but you take a regular house, 3-bed, 2-bath house. Let's say I have a $2,000 mortgage on it as the investor.
Yeah.
Regular rental would be like $2,400 in today's economy. One, people can't afford that. So you're going to get people coming in and defaulting, and now you've got an eviction, which means you've got an empty house. People get evicted, damage your house on their way out. So you've got these big, costs. You're not making any money. Maybe the property appreciates, maybe it doesn't. There's just a lot of headaches with it. Okay, cool. Well, if I take that same 3-bed, 2-bath house and I get rid of the garage, 2 bedrooms, dining room, a bedroom, living room, 2 bedrooms, and I make it a 9-bedroom, I'm now taking that $2,400 rent payment up to $9,000 a month.
That's wild.
It's wild.
And people are into that.
Bro,
wow.
are they into it?
That's crazy.
It's the wildest thing for me because I don't realize that people are not you and me.
Yeah, I know.
Because everybody I hang out with, you're in Paradise Valley.
Yeah.
I'm in like the rich part of Mesa. Everybody I hang out with is in 10,000 square foot houses. That's normal for us. So when you find out people are willing to live in a 12 by 12 bedroom, it's not even their own rental. They're sharing a bathroom and they're paying $1,000 a month. You're just like, who are these people? Then you meet them and they're nurses. They're
the normal people.
Bro, they're normal people.
I know, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. They're making $60,000, $70,000 a year and they go, how can I afford to rent anywhere? And so they find, now their $1,000, it's pretty cool. It includes their utilities, their internet, landscape cleaning. So they're not renting a $2,400 rental plus utilities, plus maintenance, plus blah, blah, blah. And so $1,000 is solving that problem. So right now, since COVID, PadSplit went from 1,000 units to now they have 300,000 units.
Oh my God.
Bro, it's not even...
That is wild.
It's wild.
It's crazy. I've never even heard about that.
Yeah, PadSplit is a big one. Furnish Finder is another one.
Yeah.
And so it's taking the world by storm. But for me, I don't want us to be in the single family world because the appreciation...
Isn't as good, yeah.
Isn't as good. And plus the cash flow is not as good. RV park, I can buy it on seller finance. These sellers want to retire.
Yeah.
I can buy a $5 million asset with no money out of my pocket. I get a massive tax play.
Yeah.
And then the thing prints $30,000, $40,000 a month in my pocket. So I'm playing a different game. But it is a sales process. And so I have to convince these sellers, hey, I'm credible enough for you to show me your books, show me your this, show me that. So it's a weird sales process because I have to convince you to let me buy your product. You imagine if that's how it was?
It is bizarre.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't see AI impacting that part of it. I see AI generating the leads, maybe nurturing some of the leads, setting appointments. But as far as real estate goes, I believe it's one of those things that's going to be heavily protected, kind of like what you talked about, getting on the roof, back to the living room,
Yeah.
kitchen table.
It's what degree of complexity
Yeah.
and nuance, and also what degree of connection.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're going to work with a coach, and let's say, again, I'll just use that same example I've been using, which is the perimenopause woman or whatever who wants like, or a relationship coach or whatever. Like you want to know there's like some sort of like energetic alignment there. So there's a relationship aspect, or if it's very complex,
Yeah.
you know, like again, for like what we do, we'll work with a company like yours. That's a whole different thing. Or we'll work with a company who's just getting their first sales rep, or a company who has 4 sales reps, but they have no setters, or a company who has 4 closers, 4 setters, but the main thing is like their sales ops process is like wanky. So we have to really like in real time diagnose on the sales call what the problem could be, you know, out of all the different spectrum of problems, and it could be different industries too, and then prescribe a solution. So it's a lot more difficult than like a very logical track.
And plus, as the prospect, you want to know that the person on the other side actually understands your problem.
Yeah.
With AI, and I imagine it'll be like this for a couple of more years. With AI, you assume it doesn't understand entirely.
Yes.
But when you have a human being, like you said, energetic alignment, it's like, oh, I got it, Cole. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is X, Y, and Z, PDQ. Okay, cool. We have another client's doing something similar. Let me bring this blah, 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 blah. That is so much more energetic. There's energetic feedback. You go, okay, I feel confident that Cole knows what my problem is.
And there's also a signal. When you talk to a really good salesperson, it is a big tell and a signal, essentially, of what the company is going to be like.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, if you get called within 5 minutes, and then the call you get off your phone right after you book this call, and somebody's confirming with you or whatever, and the person's, like, really articulate, really good, and it's a really great outbound call, like, you're thinking, okay, this company's got their stuff together. They called me within 5 minutes. Damn, that was fast. They sound really good. Then you talk to whoever the consultant is, who's going to close the sale, and they're really good. They have a good diagnosis. They have good industry acumen. So all of that is a signal that the company is high quality.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, you can't differentiate on that if everybody's, let's say, the process is only AI. So again, I'm not saying that AI eventually just won't like put everything out, but again, I think if it's getting on the roof, you know, we're living in a different world.
Bro,
so
we should just all quit.
at that point, just put me on UBI or whatever. You know, I'll just figure it out.
You need a lot of UBI to pay for your house, bro.
Yeah. Thankfully, I bought it in cash.
Yeah. Well, you still got maintenance and lands. I don't know what your landscape bill is, but I know it ain't cheap.
Yeah, it sucks. But what was I going to? Oh, one more thing on the K-shaped economy, just to bring it back full circle to the coaching industry. One unique thing about our company is we have probably 900-ish active clients, and that's all between people who are lower levels of revenue and people who are doing, you know, multi-hundred million a year. And consistently, the people who do the best are the people who are targeting rich people. That shouldn't come as a surprise, but it used not to really be in that way. I would say in 2020, like during COVID, when people were getting the stimmy checks, the people who were doing the best were more on the biz ops side, like by far. I would say 90% of my $10 million plus clients were the B2C side. Now it's like the people who are working with a doctor, or the people like John Madsen, he's local, he was at dinner with us, who he does weight loss coaching, but he only focuses almost on like I think of his market as accredited investors. Because he only goes to like
his
rich
hook
people.
is like, if you don't have $150,000, is that, what's his hook? I can't remember.
Well, what he does really well is he writes copy that emotionally gut punches those people. So like, I think there's something along the lines of like, your Rolex doesn't look so good when you can't see because your gut's hanging out so much.
Yeah.
Like you want to talk to certain things that people who aren't that audience wouldn't viscerally understand.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So people who are doing that are doing well. But the scary thing is like, you know, my business, we obviously work with business owners, so we're kind of on the other side. But a lot of our business owners we work with, they work with consumers. So if that falls through, that will, like, I look at myself as like a tier 2 layer business, because like, and then there's tier 1, and then there's the consumers. So if the consumers have no money, it's still going to impact all of us.
Yeah.
Right? Because that is like, the spending is the baseline of the economy.
Right.
Yeah.
How do I target richer clients?
So again, what I would say is similar to what John does. A lot of people, what they try to do is they try to say, hey, busy professionals. Okay. Who doesn't think they're a busy professional? So when the call out is vague, you know, successful women in corporate, right? Anybody can like put themselves in that vague call out or that vague line. So what you really want to do is essentially you want to speak to problems that only those people are going to resonate with. And almost what you want to do is if like you imagine just scrolling on Instagram and seeing an ad, if somebody who's, let's say, not a, in your target market, they don't have money, et cetera, if they see the ad, they should be like, rich people problems. So a great example is like I have a client who specifically targets women who are super successful, but they find the more money they make, the worse they get at attracting a guy who's going to be like a masculine leader in their relationship, right? So if I speak really to that problem, only that person can resonate with it. But that's a lot harder than saying, hey, busy professionals, which is what 99% of people do because it's just lazy.
Yeah.
So you want to, and it requires you to actually like know, you got to kind of like
or
fall
at least
in
test.
love. You got to like fall in love with your market a little bit and like really like know them.
Yeah.
And you got to have to speak to those visceral issues that only they can understand. Easy, simplified way to do it is if like I say I'm going to place a closer into your business. Obviously, by the nature of speaking to that problem, you have to have a business, you have to have leads, and you have to be like, I know what a closer is and I need a closer. I'm not going to get like a biz op person on that. I mean, that's very simple. But if you take it to like B2C, or let's say you do taxes, you could speak to, certain people about their tax issues, and you could use language and lingo and whatever that I might understand or you might understand. But the average lay person who's just making $500,000 a year, let's say, and just trying to like nickel and dime their tax thing, they're not going to understand. So that's really the key, because that sets a floor in your marketing, because essentially what the pixel's always trying to do is they're trying to get you the cheapest people possible. So you kind of need to have it hit a floor, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's how I think about it.
Let's say I want to start a hard money lending business as an example.
Okay.
And I want to hire a closer from you. What do I need to do before I hire a closer?
Well, so I don't know the hard money lending business super
clients that are fixing and flipping houses need money to go buy that house that they found to go out and renovate that property. So the main thing is just
the lead
money.
would be the fix and flipper.
The lead would be the fix and flipper.
Right. Okay. And then basically, okay. So I mean, what would they need to be able to work with us?
Yeah, like I want to hire a closer. I don't want to be the closer anymore.
Well, the main thing is a lot of this depends on the lead generation in each industry. And I don't know how the meta of lead generation is in hard money lending, but let's say if this person was running ads targeting fix and flippers with some sort of special offer about how their financing was different, really all they have to have is, number one, a validated sales process, right? So that means the owner themselves has proved out that, hey, I'm closing at 30 to 40%, okay, and I have the leads coming in. And then, given it's a 1 or 2 call process and it's in a transactional environment, transactional means like the sales closes in 30 days or less, you would probably need 60 to 80 live calls per month per closer. So if I have 60 to 80 live calls per month per closer, I can prove to them that, hey, I'm closing these people. Like there's a validated sales process here. If I have those things, you're ready to bring somebody on. Now there's different, like maybe your person is generating the leads themselves, like the salesperson is, or they're knocking doors or whatever. It really depends industry to industry. Sometimes you might have to pay a base, but no matter what, like what I can say across any type of business is there needs to be a proof of concept of it actually working, especially if you want a good salesperson, because good salespeople have options.
Yeah.
And they want to go into a winning system. They want to know the car works, right? They don't want to get into the car and like they press the gas and it goes 30. They want to go 100, right? So it's almost, think about it this way. In the recruiting marketplace, okay, so like in marketing, right? Hormozy's like famous for this. If you want to get, your ads working really well, you put out a great offer. So your vehicle and how good of opportunity that your salesperson has, or that you're offering the salesperson, how good the leads are, how many leads they're getting, what the comp structure is, how validated the sales process is, how many case studies you have. That is like the offer in the recruiting marketplace. And the better offer you can put out in that marketplace, the better salespeople you're going to get. And, one quote I really like is every hour you spend recruiting saves 10 hours managing. It's something along those lines. Every unit of time you spend recruiting,
that's so
saves
accurate.
10 hours managing. Like, have you ever had a team? I know, isn't that good?
It's so true, though.
Yeah, and I heard that from Brian Chesky of Airbnb. So, he's running a big business. But have you ever had a team where you're like, we need better systems, we need better processes, I got to train these people, I'm going to train this person, I'm going to train this person. And then eventually you just like hire a couple of other people and you raise the pay and you get some new people in there.
All the time.
And you're like, dude, I don't even need to train these people.
I tell people all the time, people say, you need better systems. I go, no, you don't. You need better people.
Yes.
Because good people will create the systems around them.
Yes.
And I had an integrator partner years ago, still partners with him, but we don't build anything together anymore. And he would say, Pace, it's systems and processes first. I go, no, it's good people first. They're going to build systems that actually work for them, and then we'll duplicate those. And we fought about this for 5, 6, 7 years. And finally, I was just like, I can't work with you. And then I worked with people like Josiah, my current partner. Now it's like, we just pay people the right amount of money. You hire really good people.
Yeah. One unit at a time recruiting saves 10 units a time managing.
So true.
And so the thing is, what's crazy about that is like, we've gone through several we have 20 full staff recruiters. They do outbound full cycle. They could do headhunting. We also have like a bunch of inbound from our network. And
this is for your business specifically, where you train salespeople to go out and place them somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, this is where we business owners pay us and they're like, hey, I need 10 recruits or I need a recruit or whatever. Right. So we have like full staff recruiters, and that's not just people who come from my training. That's like, we'll go out and poach. We placed, this isn't even a salesperson. We placed like electricians for this one company. Yeah. So they can do kind of everything, but we specialize in sales.
I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to expand in doing different things, not just sales. So probably healthcare is one. HVAC is another. AI proof type of stuff. Where there's also labor shortages. Because I'm thinking I have this great model. How can I, from first principles, if I had to restart from the very beginning, knowing what I know about ads, call funnels, marketing, all this stuff, sales, and then also how good our recruiting team is, what recruiting markets would I go into that are just like ripe for HVAC techs, for instance, most of them are baby boomers. There's a huge labor shortage there. And essentially because of all the regulation, there's not a lot of people coming through the schools.
Yeah.
That could change in the future, but it's a huge shortage. So anyways, what were we talking about? Recruiting and managing. Oh yeah. So anyways, our recruiting team, we've gone through like 3 evolutions. And it's funny, like we were pounding the systems and the training and the interview techniques and this and that. And all it really took to take our recruiting team, I'm not even kidding, 10x their performance, was just raising the pay by like 30% per member. And the crazy thing is like, let's say we were paying $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Dude, I'm talking about, we just pay them now $8,000 to $9,000 a month. And what's nuts is because now we can get so much better people that the actual budget of the department is literally the same. I think it might be less because they can have more capacity because they're more productive. And so if you think about it, it's like 33% sounds like a lot, but we're talking like $3,000 a month per employee.
Yeah.
And to that, like to you and I, that might not seem like anything like it's going to make a difference. In the recruiting marketplace, that's like a whole different trough of people. Like we were talking about earlier, like that's like going from talking to somebody who's broke who wants to lose weight to a high net worth individual. Like it's a huge, it's 30%. It gets you in a whole different response category of who you can get from recruiting. So again, like I've learned this I've learned it too many times to where like now I feel like I stamped it on my forehead to where I've like been trying to turn a department around and then it's like, oh, these people just aren't that good.
It's a human.
Yeah.
It's a human.
Yeah.
I deal with this all the time. I'm like, start over. Hire better people.
Yeah.
Raise the pay. Hire better people.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
And they'll build the department around themselves rather than sitting there going, a really good person walks in and goes, dude, I don't need any of this stuff. I'm going to build my own thing.
Yeah.
That's so true. Okay. So let's stay on the example of, let's say, hard money lender, right?
Okay.
Because I do a lot of lending. My audience does a lot of lending as well, where you would actually run ads, have people on the calls, all of that kind of stuff. So this pertains to you. And if I'm going to recruit really great salespeople, what would you say is the floor of a good salesperson's commission or take-home pay in 1 year?
Okay, well, it depends. It could be different for any industry, right? But what you would want to look at is what the salary, pay scale, whatever.
But you're not going to get a good sales guy at $40,000 a year.
No. But you want to look at what the averages are of that industry and just go to the very top. Is what you're going to want to do. You want to be like what I try to be for our sales team is like you're going to make the most here if you're good, right? And so it's pretty simple. I would want to pay to the top. How much of that is base plus 100% commission depends on a lot of stuff, right? Longer sales cycle and less frequency, like enterprise, is more. So on one extreme, let's look at 2 extremes. There's different types of sales. There's like relational sales, that's like a real estate agent. There's transactional sales, which doesn't mean you're treating your prospects like a transaction. That means that you're closing the deal
They're just happening faster,
in 30 days or less, right? Then there's enterprise sales, which is like a 9-month sale. So on one side, let's say you have enterprise. That's a 9-month sales cycle. You might only be getting 3 leads a month, right? And you're like working these deals. You might get 1 deal to drop every 2 months, but they could be $1 million deals. They're probably going to be 60, 70% base.
Heavy base, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're going to be commission. Whereas like the absolute other side is fitness, to where these people are taking tons of leads, tons of consults, whether that's in person in gyms or if it's online. And they have tons of leads, tons of consults. They're closing them same day.
So low or no base.
That can be 100, that should be 100% commission. So that's kind of the spectrum. So you have to kind of like weigh that and see where you sort of fall in that, and then just pay at the top. Right?
Okay, love that. And so would you say that you could attract a high level talent at 100 grand a year?
Well, I would say that it depends on the industry, right? Most cases, probably not. You know, like most industries, a salesperson can make 300 to 500 if they're really good.
Yeah, like
so like
really
that's
great
where
people.
you want to build your comms to be able to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some industry, if it's like a super easy industry or something like that, where your setters or something could make 100 grand. I mean, that's not bad. But I would say 300 to 500 is like what most really good salespeople are looking for, especially right now.
What is the difference between a $100,000 a year sales guy in the same industry as a $500,000 a year sales guy?
So I look at, when I try to recruit, because again, let's just go to the recruiting aspect, and one unit of recruiting saves 10 times managing, right? And that goes for salespeople too. So just as an aside, we did an analysis, and our best salespeople that we've ever hired in the history of the company, guess how long it took them to ramp up?
1 day.
1 day. Literally, they basically, from the first week, were at KPI and never left. Then if you go to just our mid-tier people who still made it, they took about a month and a half, right? So we want those best people. The commonality between all of those people is, number one, you want specialized knowledge, right? So again, you know how I was talking about transactional sales. So you want deep experience in the type of sales process that you're recruiting for. And that's very important, because my clients, a lot of times, they'll be like, dude, I found this really good salesperson. And they sold for Salesforce. And that's like a prestigious thing. If you were like one of the best people at Salesforce or whatever, but they're selling Amazon FBA coaching for $5,000. Sometimes that person, they don't work out. Not even because maybe they couldn't. It's just a different thing. They're not used to like the one call close, helping people overcome. It's so emotional. So you want specialized knowledge deep into the actual type of selling process that they're looking for. The second thing you want, which is really important, this is what everybody overlooks, is industry acumen. Okay. So that's like, can I actually speak the language of the market? So let's say you take like the most grizzled car sales guy veteran ever, and he goes sells the functional medicine perimenopause offer that we were talking about. Yeah, I mean, he just can't relate to the market because he's not the market.
Yeah.
Like part of the reason you can influence your people so well that follow you, whether that's online, social media, or even your clients or whatever, is because like you're actively doing it and you were in their shoes and you've like lived their story.
Yeah.
Right. So you get them and you can speak the language of that, because we all respond to like a tribal language. Okay. So those are two things. The third thing I look for is buy-in. So buy into the mission, vision, and values. And then I've added a fourth thing, which is really like, and this is a hard thing to assess, but it's their level of assertiveness. So like how, in those personality tests, they have, what is it called? Disagreeableness is like a trait. That's really what I'm looking for. And also like, how centered are they? And an interesting thing that you can look for is very confident people, when they talk, they keep their head relatively still. Okay. Whereas like, think about somebody who is... That's
wild.
Yeah, think about... But
you're going to make me think... You're going to make me self-conscious.
I know, dude. When I learned this, I was self-conscious for like a week. I was like this. I was stiff, But think about it. A very unconfident person, if they're selling, they're like doing a lot of this.
Yeah.
Doing this. So the weird cue is for like high status behavior, as they call it, is if you can keep your head still, almost everything else, like your shoulders will fall back, your posture will open, all of that stuff. That's the one cue. So you know where I learned this? They teach this in acting. So because in acting, you essentially have to oscillate, because there's a really good book called Impro. I'd recommend you read it. Just read this chapter on status. And it's this acting coach, and it's about him teaching all these actors. And essentially in acting, if like you're doing a play or you're doing a scene, in every scene, there's always a play between somebody either being high status and then the other person is trying to push down their status and be more higher status, or like lower status. Everybody's assuming a status in a scene. And that's actually what creates the dynamic. I mean, this is every day and this happens in every interaction, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But they teach that in acting to make the acting feel more real. Okay. And so one of the things he teaches for people who are having trouble assuming to be more high status is to keep your head still.
Interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So, and it's so funny when I learned
So
that.
your recruiters will actually look for this in the process.
Well, I probably need to teach them this. This is like, but what's interesting is when I learned this, I was looking at all our sales guys and the some that are really good versus not really good. And I immediately the next day, I remember there was a guy on our team that was struggling, and I watched his call, and there was so much of this, you know. And even watch like a podcast interview, and you have the sound off, you'll see like one person is more still and grounded, and a lot of times the other person is like bobbing their head a lot.
Interesting.
I know, it's so crazy.
That is so crazy.
But this happens very often.
What about the sales guys that are struggling? What do you think is the number one trait they're struggling with?
So most
Was it like the way their parents raised them? They're just little bitches. Like,
well, there's a lot of things. I try and so this is back to the assertiveness. Part of that category is I want them to have positive beliefs about selling. Like I love sale. I love buying. The more if you find somebody who loves buying, they're probably good at sales.
I love buying.
Because they love the sales product. They love to be sold so that when they're selling somebody, they feel good about it. They feel like if I was receiving this, you know, it's almost like their version of the golden rule, treat somebody how I like to be treated. They're like, this is how I like to be treated. I want to be sold. Like I want to be pushed a little bit. I want to be challenged. So you want somebody who kind of, they like to buy and they don't have any like bad sales beliefs. So a lot of the beginners, you know, they're like sales is bad and, you know, this and that.
Used car salesman.
And I just avoid that. Like I have a saying, like, I don't want to have a Tony Robbins breakthrough with somebody to get them to be able
I always tell people, just go watch Tony Robbins videos. Like if you need to be yelled at, go to Ed Milet.
But
don't make me do it.
You don't want to hire for that because it's too big. Like they have to have a personal transformation to perform. So I'm never going to hire, like, that is a lot of that's probably the biggest reason why a lot of people can't make it, like can't work out in sales. But you know, for my clients and for me, I mean, I don't want to hire those people in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. I would say the second one is like just the level. I mean, I have salespeople. I've had salespeople who I review the call and I'm like, oh dude, like you didn't diagnose the problem right. Like you got it wrong. You didn't give them the right solution, but they still fucking closed them.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just because they're so certain. And I would say, I know it sounds so cliche, but that is usually the biggest like X factor that really separates the good people from the people who aren't as good. A lot of good salespeople too are just really emotional and they're a pain in the ass. And so when I have a client, they're like, dude, I got this person. They're really good. They're like amazing, but holy shit, they're so draining. I'll be like, okay, well, are they breaking any rules? Okay, a little bit of rules, but are they doing anything that's like culturally? Because you don't want somebody who's like that, but then they're out of cultural values, because that'll fuck up the rest of the team.
Yeah.
But as long as they're within cultural values, I'm usually like, yeah, it sounds like you got a good salesperson.
Yeah.
And like you're like my managers, I joke with them. I'm like, dude, you guys are just like therapists, right? You know, so one of my managers, he literally calls people. He calls all the reps. He makes them call him right after their last call every single day. And the reason he does that, and this is like a policy that we do, is because, you know, these people are pissed. They're mad about the lead quality. They're mad about, you know, they're just emotional people.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to like dust them off. Dude, it's okay. Don't get in your head. There's just 5 calls today. You got 5 calls tomorrow. And you just kind of got to like recoup them a little bit because they're emotional. They're volatile type of people. You know, like Dennis Rodman? That type of personality where it's like every once in a while he just needs to go to Vegas and just go off the fucking rails.
Yes.
A lot of great salespeople are like that. And that's why we were talking about like they do nicotine, you know. They're like, yeah, I'm not gonna work this weekend. I gotta go get fucked up. It's like,
good.
All right, dude. You know, you gotta blow off do your
Let me
thing.
buy
You
your
gotta
ticket.
blow off some steam.
Let me buy your flight.
What's interesting is a lot of times, and I have a lot of experience with this, and these guys can be good, but the guys who are like really like they're super serious about the training and the scripts and all the things, and they're like obsessive about it, but they're like very polished, dot the I's, cross the T guys. They will not outperform I don't want to call them degenerates, but it's like the guys who have a deep, dark black hole.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And that's kind of, when I was coming up, if you ask Taylor, when I was selling full time, I had that, dude. I don't know where, I mean, I think I know where it came from, but I was just I had a big black hole, and I was filling that with selling units.
Yeah.
You know, and I was mad. But you got to kind of know how to balance that over the long time, because that'll burn you out too. So you got to
Okay, so
balance it.
sales manager.
Yeah.
You just laid something down really good. I don't know if my team's doing this. You're making me take notes. I want to go ask my team if they're doing this. Having a sales rep call them at the end of the day. What are some activities a sales manager should be doing that most people don't know about?
Well, let me tell you one that's just very obvious is just running a daily sales meeting every single day. And that sales meeting being
Early morning?
Every morning. Yeah. And that sales meeting should be very good. Like when I was doing the sales meetings myself, and this even goes back to like when I was doing football, I was like the team captain, and I would always make sure I had this mentality that this is the most important thing of the day. Practice was the most important thing, and we have to leave better than we came on, right? So there's this like convergent importance on this moment, and that's how I think of the sales team meetings, because we run through projections, then usually 40 minutes of it is just training, and a lot of times we're reviewing game tape. And there's a lot of learning that can come from that. So they have to leave essentially better than they came on. And I take it I have like a very serious intentionality with that meeting. And most employees, the reason they hate meetings is because the meetings are not intentional, right? And the fact is, if you only have intentional meetings, you don't even need that many meetings, because there's only so many things you could be intentional about. But that is one thing that is super, super important. And like, I have a lot of people who are like, dude, I hated meetings till I joined this company, because they feel like they can get better after every single meeting. So I know that's a basic one. That's one. The main thing that sales managers fuck up is you bring them on and they want to give you advice on your marketing. They want to redo the script. They want to play with the CRM, do all these, and it looks good. They're like doing all these projects. And the reason they're doing that is because they're used to winning deals. Right? And that's like a good reinforcement cycle. They get the attaboy, they get the dopamine, whatever. But now they're in a position where it's not a selfish thing, which I'm not saying salespeople are selfish, really, they're serving. But what I mean by that is like, if you're a salesperson, you're tunnel vision on the next deal. You're like, where's the next deal? Because you can only be doing two things. You can be generating a call with a qualified prospect or doing a call with a qualified prospect. It's the beauty of sales. It's the only two things you can do, right? So when you go to sales manager though, you have to be selfless, not selfish, right? You have to not have tunnel vision. You have to be like, what is everything going on? And so a lot of times though, they want to, do a project. They want to do the CRM, do this, or migrate you to this CRM or whatever. So they can kind of like have some sort of attaboy, I did this or whatever. Really the best ones, all they do is they clear their calendar and their entire day is just helping all their salespeople in the field. So there's a couple ways that happens. The number one way, and I just like stamp this on their forehead, is their job is QC. All they should be doing is reviewing game tape of all their reps all day, every day. We also have a system where we can like on Zoom see essentially every single call that's going on at once. And so we can like plug in here, plug in here. So like that's a way one of my managers does it.
So he's jumping in the lives. So
what he'll do is he'll like wait to the close and then kind of like nudge them a little bit. You don't want to send them too much stuff on message as they're on the call, because then they're going to get out of the present moment. But sometimes it's like, let me send a couple nudges here, right? Or he'll call them right after and give them some advice. So that's a way. Do a lot of game tape, send them the game tape. Also be there to where if a prospect maybe gets stuck on a deal, hey, book them with me. We'll close them together.
Oh, that's great.
Right? Or, hey, you f***ed up this deal. You need to book it with sales rep number 2 and then split deal that. So, what's interesting, when I went to Cardone's office and, talking to Jared and talking to all them and seeing how they do it.
Shout out Jared.
A lot of their deals that they close are split deals. So where a salesperson gets it to 9 out of 10 and then like the person just needs to see a different face and get a little bit more familiar.
Sometimes it's even a different gender, weirdly.
Yeah, it just can be anything. Yeah. And it just gives them like okay, there's multiple cool people at this company. They seem legit. This other person hopped in to help my account, whatever. And sometimes just hearing the same pitch from somebody else, they just buy. So the manager needs to be there to try to get the team to work together. Hey, you can't, you f*** this deal up. You burn this. I'm going to reach out and have this person close it, and you guys are going to split.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
So stuff like that, or book them with the manager. When they're doing the call reviews, naturally, if you ever review a bad sales call from your team, it's like infuriating. You want to throw your computer out the window. So you channel that anger. You call the prospect, and it's like, hey, dude, Do you have 5 minutes to chat? I just reviewed your call. So-and-so missed a really key point that I think is massively going to help you in your business. Do you have 5 minutes? Because I just want to share with you that even if you don't work with us, they're always like, for sure. Or if they don't answer, I just send that in text format. They always respond because they want to know what was missed. And then like I kind of created an open loop.
I imagine a lot of sales directors or managers are not doing most of this
No, they don't do that. And so this is all in the field stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to find other projects that are not sales related to get that dopamine
well, the
rush
thing
or whatever.
is sitting down and watching your team through game tape fuck up deals all day, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. But it's like the boring work that needs to be done. So we call that a manager callback, to where you review the call, you're like, this obviously is blown. Manager calls them and either just gives them, kind of like resets them a little bit and sort of repitches them, which will increase the probability for the follow-up. A lot of times it's a 5-10 minute conversation. They're like, dude, I can't believe you called. No company does this, whatever. They'll just give you 10 to 20 grand like that. I used to do it when I was a manager, and I was like, we were doing over 8 figures at the time. And I was like, where can I spend 5 minutes and collect 20 grand?
Yeah.
So I was like, if I'm going to be sitting there brooding about how pissed I am at this call, I could either send all my notes to the rep and be like, you should have done this, you should have done that. Or I'll just call the prospect, be like, this is what you should have done.
It changes the whole culture and then you're willing to step in the field.
And then, and so, Napoleon. And so he was obviously
he's gangster.
One of the greatest military general of all time. They called him the little corporal. And the reason they called him that is because he would always be on the front lines, right? Like he would man the artillery sometimes. He got his horse shot out from under him 21 times. So they called him the little corporal. Like there's the famous painting of him. Nobody wanted to cross the bridge when they were bombing it with artillery, and he grabs the French flag and he runs across the bridge. It was like almost complete suicide. So I think about that, and that's kind of how you want your sales managers to be. Is you shouldn't be booking them calls. Like I'm not saying book calls on their calendar, but they should almost be paying their salary by 10x by assisting the deals. And as a salesperson, the best way. Have you read The Inner Game of Tennis?
Yeah.
Okay. So like that book shows you that essentially, getting like vague critiques, it really doesn't help a lot. What really helps actually is seeing what good looks like. And so what a lot of times what we do, and even we do this to an extent, probably too much, is we review the game tape. You did this wrong. You did this wrong. You did this wrong. I'm not saying that's not helpful. What's more helpful is me closing somebody myself and being like, you see what I did here. You see what I did here. You see what I did here. Also, what's more exciting for a meeting? Beating somebody down, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. Or be like, guys, let's review so-and-so's close from yesterday. They freaking killed it. We drilled on this thing. They did it perfectly. Just check out this entire thing and look how well they did. And everybody's like, yeah, they did so well. They're watching like him handle this objection, whatever. And then it's a positive thing. That person feels good. And then also everybody else who's lower than that person who's not doing as well, they're like, oh, because every salesperson,
that's what good looks like.
Every salesperson's like, oh, well, I think the number one guy just gets the best leads. But then when they're also like, is he doing something that I'm not doing? Or
always.
They're always like that. They're reviewing each other's calls. So that's the easiest way to influence them too. Show them what good looks like. And just as they say in The Inner Game of Tennis, it's like you want to model that picture of like what's good. And it keeps them also forward thinking, more positive. And so a great thing to do is if you have a manager, and if they just get like a closed deal every 2 weeks, you could break that call down in 3 sections. Day 1, discovery. Day 2, pitch. Day 3, close. And you're showing them what good looks like. They're going around and giving takeaways, and that's almost way more effective. The other call reviews are important too, because like they got to see their blind spots. But that's how you want to think about it. Yeah.
Number one question I get every day is, how do I get everything done? I have 9 companies, 600 employees. We have customers all over the globe. We're doing fix and flips. We're doing buy and holds, apartments, RV parks, all of those things. Everybody wonders, how did I scale? How did I get to a higher level? And the answer is that: go high level. I use a CRM that allows all of my customers to come into one database. And instead of me hiring more employees to go and do all the follow-up, Go High Level has systems and automations that does all of that for me. So not only can I have my employees focus on higher end tasks, money-making tasks, Go High Level avoids all of the extra payroll. When you're brand new, having Go High Level is like having 5 different employees doing all the work for you just for a monthly fee. Go to gohighlevel.com/pace to learn how I'm using it, not only in my lending business, but my wholesale business, my fix and flip business. Literally, Go High Level controls the entire back end of all 9 of my companies. Go to gohighlevel.com/pace to learn more.
So good. I had a big problem stepping out of my company. I still have this problem now.
Yeah.
Not in sub 2. But in my real estate business, I still am addicted to being on the calls.
Yeah.
I think it's massive. I think it is what spurs on a lot of activity. But when should a founder be out of the calls and be more of a manager? When do you know that it's time to get out of the way?
Well, obviously, the first step is once the constraint in your business is availability, which because like you're maxed out, you can't grow the revenue because you have no more time. That's when you should bring the salesperson in, right? Now you're a sales manager. Then you're doing all the stuff I just mentioned, which still means you're on the front lines-ish, but you're not taking calls. You don't have appointments. You're kind of just managing the team a little bit. And I did this. I mean, I was doing, I was the CEO of the company. We were doing well over 10 million a year. So I'm managing other executives. And, when I would sit down to do my call QC or a rep hits me up and they're like, dude, can you call this person? I fucked this up. Like, I can still do that. It's not like it's taking all of my time, but a sales manager can do way more. So then you're into sales management. But then once you have a good sales manager, I would say as a CEO, you're pretty much out of it. You don't have to do it. But I'll just be honest, like to give you an example, like I still want to do it. I'm the same way as you. Like if I take a sales call randomly, sometimes I'll take it with like friends, or people I know. When I close a deal, dude, I'm like ready to run through a wall the rest of my day. Of course. You're just like, this is awesome. Like, I remember,
and I bet
it's almost like,
probably respects you even more too.
Yeah. And then we'll review that call. And so I'll give you an example. Like I told you, we're launching, I don't know which we're going to go after first, but it's either going to be cash pay healthcare and placing like nurses and NPs and doctors and stuff like that. And then we can cross sell the salespeople in those businesses. Or we're going to be doing HVAC or a similar home service and placing techs or placing comfort advisors. And those are kind of the techs are kind of fulfillment and setters in that business. And then the comfort advisors are pure sales. And so when I go out and validate those divisions, I'm just going to take the calls myself.
Yeah.
Right. Because I want to see who these people are, and also like if I take the calls, I'm going to get ideas that nobody's going to have because I'm going to be like, oh, okay. Like they said this, we need to change the marketing to that. Cause I can think all across the business. I'm not just thinking about this. So I'm going to get so much intel through there and it's going to be fun. It's like talking to your
and you rally the troops. Like when
exactly.
other people watch you do the close, they're just like, wow, okay, 1, it's easy. 2, that's what mastery looks like what we were talking about earlier. But 3, like I'm not working for a guy that's not going to get on the phone.
Yeah, it's like Elon sleeping on the factory in the middle of the Tesla
factory,
people which by the way,
work their guts
and
out
he moved his mattress out like from the office right outside of the office purposely so people could see him. Which, by the way, like he's later said, like he related that to Napoleon. And that's how he got that idea to do that. I mean, I think it was also kind of like just who he is. So there needs to be a degree of that. It like fires it up because you're not above it. But also the kind of the prerequisite of doing this and what makes you excited to do it versus dreading to do it is I think what's really important is you got to have a business where you love your customers.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a business where you're like, man, if I had an event, I'd want to like hide.
Yeah.
And when you can have that, it makes it a lot easier because there's a pull to it, not a push.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. I don't ever feel like I'm selling anything. What do you feel like people get wrong about sales? Like when they're jumping into whether it's info or other things where they say, I'm not a salesperson. That's one of them for sure.
Yeah.
2, I don't like sales. That's another big thing that you probably hear a lot. What are some things you hear from people that just get wrong about sales? Or things that infuriate you when people say stuff about sales.
There's a lot of things that infuriate me in terms of what people do with selling, I think number one, so in transactional type of sales, we hear a lot about discovery and, you want to go deep, do discovery, remove objections before the close. That's obviously a prerequisite of selling. Like you have to do fact finding. You have to find out all these things on the front end. Otherwise, you're going to deal with those objections in the back end. But most good salespeople, after about a couple of weeks of ramping, they're pretty good at the discovery. And what I've really realized over the years is where we really fall down is the close, and just holding people accountable. And I think that
meaning your prospect.
People drastically underestimate like the amount of leadership you have to show up as at the close. Now, everything you do before that makes it a lot easier. So you want to do everything before that well too. But at the end, I think a lot of people discount just like how important that leadership at the end is and holding people accountable. And it's like, hey, you told me earlier you wanted to be this type of person, right? And this type of person does these types of things, but now you're saying you want to do this. So like, who do you want to be ultimately? because it's not going to affect my life either way. But if you want to be this type of person and do these behaviors, you're going to get more of what? The same behaviors.
Dude, I don't know what you're selling right now, but you got me wanting to buy.
Yeah.
So holding people accountable, leading. I mean, people genuinely want to be led, right? And people want to be bought. They want to buy things. They don't want to be sold.
Well, they want to buy things from people who challenge them to think different. So, you know, a lot of times if you have a sales call, we had this morning, because I still attend all the meetings. I'm not even the manager. I just attend the meetings because it's what I do. So I'm like, I'm just going to, you know, if I'm available, like some days I can't do it. I'm not available, so the manager does it. But if I'm available, I'm coming to the meeting because it's fun. Like I enjoy it. I actually feel better about my business when I'm doing a little sales training every single day. But today, you know, there was an objection. The person wanted to talk to 2 other people to make a final decision, right? But here's the thing.
2 other people in their life.
2 other service providers.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
wanted 2 more quotes or whatever. Well, okay.
Yeah. And so the thing is, though, is if I can, you might think you need X, Y, and Z in your business. But if you have a conversation with me and I'm like, well, look, I do think you need X, Y, and Z, but you're thinking about it the wrong way. And really the way, if I was you, based on my experience working with just people just like you who are at this level, is they think about it like this. And what you really need is, yes, this, but you need to do it in this specific way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Right? So like independent if you work with us or not, if anybody tells you different, like I don't care if you work with us, but if anybody tells you different, I would run the other direction because they're just not being honest with you and they're just trying to sell you something. And so anyways, whatever that is, if I can make them think differently about their problem and solution needs, it actually eliminates they don't need to talk to anybody else because those other people they already booked those calls with fits their original perception of what they thought they need, but you change that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Like a great example is, you know, we might have somebody come on and they might think that they need, I'm trying to think of a good example. They might think they need more setters, right? And we might find out that, dude, actually, you have already too many setters for your lead flow. The main issue is these issues going on with the sales ops, and you don't have good speed to lead with your initial setters, and actually you need an additional closer, right? So like, let's say I just say that and I reframe their problem that way. If they have calls booked with other people about getting setters, those calls are now irrelevant. Does that make sense? I'm trying.
Yes.
I could have thought of a better example, but you
No,
get
it's
what
a
I'm
great
kind of
example.
You get what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah.
Like a lot of times, like if our clients who sell marketing services, they think it's about, I need a good media buyer who knows how to do the Facebook, this and that, and knows how to do targeting and knows how to do that. Most times it's not Facebook. It's your offer sucks. You can't communicate your offer. Nothing about what you do is different. Nothing about what you do is unique enough to where some dude scrolling on his toilet at 6 a.m. is like, that's interesting enough, I'm going to take a chance, right? So if you point that out on the sales call and you help them really understand your problem's not X, it's Y. Now we'll help you with X, but like Y is kind of the foundation. And if you do that without that, it's like building a house on a foundation of sand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if I can get them to agree to that, which an agreement basically means if once they agree, I've built a new belief, right? And I'm stacking those beliefs. Then anybody else they talk to who's not going to bring that up, and I'll even say this, look, I don't care if you work with us, independent if you work with us or not. If somebody doesn't tell you what I just told you,
Run.
go the other direction. And that doesn't mean you have to work with us. But like, this is actually what you need. And by the way, you know how you said that you've been working with people in the past and it hasn't worked out? It's probably because they hadn't addressed this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? So look, I'm not saying you have to work with us, but this is really what you need. And in fact, I'm making it harder on myself in this conversation right now because it would have been easy for me to just give you Facebook ads because that's what you want. You want Facebook ads. I'm kind of going out of my way here
it's so
to
good.
tell you what the real problem is,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily what you came on for. It'd be
Yeah.
easier if I just nodded my head along, and gave you the price. But it's because this is what you need. And then I'm like, and I'll be like, what do you think about that? Oh,
Are you bringing up this conversation before they bring up the objection of
So what I
need to
do,
talk to 2 or 3 more people?
The way I look at it is there's intro, that's rapport and frame. There's discovery. Then there's what's called the transition phase. That's between the fact finding and the pitch. Then there's the pitch. Then there's the close. I bring this up in the transition phase. I call it the pre-pitch. And so the pre-pitch is essentially where I want to break down all the limiting beliefs that keep them from buying and rebuild all the positive beliefs that they need to believe to be true, that if they believe, they'll automatically, when they hear my pitch, be like, dude, that's exactly what I need, and they'll buy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I might have somebody come on and, we place salespeople, but they might not know, they might have kind of not read the ad all the way through, and they might want fully outsourced done for you sales. And also on top of that, they want a fully outsourced done for you setter team, and they have no leads. So in my pre-pitch, I have to break down, done for you versus in-house. And I have to break down that, look, like, I know you came on for this, but you really need leads. We'll help you with the salesperson, but we need to help you with leads too. And then I got to rebuild those other two things. But then I want to set an agreement and get their buy-in on that. Once I said, I'll be like, so I'll give and I do that all in a consulting format. So I'll start it off with like, look, do you want my honest advice on your business? Yeah. Okay, great. Look, this isn't coming from just me. I've worked with people like you or Tony or this person, and I've worked with people in your industry just like you, like this person doing this amount of revenue, this person doing this amount of revenue. So I have a lot of data, and I just want to tell you what I observed is working for people just like you who are at this level, which is where you want to get to, right? Right. Okay, great. So look, here's what I'm seeing. And then I'll kind of break it down in a consulting-based format. And then I'll be like, so what do you think about that? And if it's a lot of things, the key thing is when you're pitching or you're talking or whatever, every 45 seconds you do a check-in, which you could say, does that make sense? What do you think about that? Do you follow? Whatever. But so I'm kind of like checking in. Anytime I make a big point, I'm like, so what are your thoughts on that? You don't say, any thoughts on that? They say no. What are your thoughts on that? It's
more open-ended.
I forget the NLP or whatever, but try it. You'll get a response. They'll be like, what are my thoughts on that? You'll get a response. And so, or I'll say, so based on what we talked about earlier when we brought up this, do you see how now if you did it this way, you would get this, right? So like that's another way you can do, but I'm trying to kind of, when you're pitching or when you're explaining stuff, you want to think about it like building a house and laying bricks. It's like you make a point, and then there needs to be dialogue to set the point in.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot of studies that humans actually, the only way they can shift beliefs is not by their own introspection. It's about socializing with other humans. Yeah. So that research was done actually with people shifting their political beliefs. And they found that like left to their own device, they can't reason to new beliefs, so to speak. But when they're in dialogue, there can be minor shifts to beliefs, which is part of the issue because we don't talk to each other as a country.
Right.
So if we talk to each other more, there'd be more fluidness to probably a more powerful center or whatever. So anyways, so you want to create, you give them a little bit, you give them a point, and then you want to create dialogue, right? And does that make sense? Cool. What are your thoughts on that? Then once I get kind of the whole thing out of the way and I've made my case, so to speak, I'll kind of recap it. I'll be like, so look, again, we'll get into how we work together in a second, but I'm just telling you what I would do if I was you in your situation. So we covered this, that, and the other. And based on everything I know about people just like you, this is going to help you get to this level. But what's really important is like, do you agree with what I laid out here? That's a very key phrase, because once we can have an agreement, I set a belief.
Critical.
I set a belief. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's how I create a new belief. And by the nature of them believing that, they're also not believing the things that were going to get in the way of my sale. So that's how, when I do that, like I know I just went over the close and all this stuff, but that is how you end up getting no objections. Like most of the objections I get are more like logistical. I got to talk to this person. How's the money going to work? I got to transfer funds from here, stuff like that. But I almost can't, I don't let myself get to the end without, like, I'm going to know where they're at.
Yeah.
Unless I'm just taking a shot, like it's just a long shot prospect or something, but that's rare. I'm going to get to the end and I'm going to know they're in. Because I call it like, there's two sales you make on every sales call. There's the sale on like the idea, right? And like, do I like the plan, right? Am I sold on the plan? And then there's actually the purchase. But 80% of the effort on the sales call is like selling them on the plan. So like for you, with subject to creative financing, if I was a rep, most likely, it depends on each prospect, but almost probably 90% of the time, really my objective on the call is not to sell the product. It's to get them to 100% believe that the way you do real estate and creative finance and your specific methodology is the bridge between where they are now to where they want to be. Because if they believe that, then obviously buying your product is the next step. But they have to, if they don't believe that the method and the plan is going to work, then they're never going to, if they have to go convince their spouse, they're never going to convince their spouse because they don't think it's going to work. How are they going to transfer certainty when they don't have it?
Zero.
Yeah, they can't do it, right? Does that make sense? So it's always about selling. This is why, like, when Russell Brunson, way back in the day, he sold like all this money on Grant Cardone's stage, and it was like the most anybody's ever sold.
What was it? 30 million and 30. It was like
Yeah,
a minute.
it was.
$1
I know it was
minute.
10x2, right?
Yeah.
And if you watch that presentation, does he talk about ClickFunnels? No. What he does is he's really selling on the idea that funnels at that time is the most effective, best way to whatever grow your business, because most people were doing like websites, you know? And so he's like, no, your website is your business card. What you really need is a salesperson. But a salesperson, you know, it's not a traditional salesperson. You need an online salesperson. He made like that analogy that it's really a funnel. And so, but once you believe that, you buy ClickFunnels, right? So he talks about that in his book. It's like the domino belief, but that comes from like age-old direct response marketing. It's called the central marketing thesis, right? It's like the one belief that if they believe, you know, naturally they're going to buy. So really a lot of what I'm trying to do on the sales call is I'm trying to figure out what is that belief for them. And I'm trying to kind of chip away. I got to, you know, do a lot of sub-beliefs to get them there. And then I get the agreement. And then after that, it's like going downhill. And then hopefully I don't have to handle objections. I got to handle logistics. The only objection, if they really believe it's going to work, the only thing that you'll have to objection-wise really deal with is fear. But that's easy. If they're just a little scared.
But how do you overcome the objection of fear?
So if they're like, you know, a lot of times,
And the fear is usually the fear of failure. Like, what if I buy the thing?
So here's how it shows up, though. Because do they ever say, I mean, they could, but do they ever say, dude, I'm just scared? No. So what they usually do is they're like, well, you know, I just got to still think about, and I'm like, okay, look, so money and everything aside, you know, we laid out X, Y, and Z in terms of our plan to get you here, right? So money and everything aside, do you 100% believe that it's going to work? Right? That's the phrase. So again, you see what I'm doing there? I'm making the sale on the plan, on the belief.
Yeah.
Now, what will happen a lot of times is they're like, well, you know, this, like, okay. And so I'm like, I can tell, like, let's say a lot of times, if they're certain, they'll be like, dude, 100%. They'll say it like that. But then if they're uncertain, they'll be like, they'll do one of those, you know, yeah. And then I'll just cut them off and I'll be like, okay, look, well, let's just be honest for a second. Like, you obviously don't 100% think it's going to work, which is fine. Maybe I didn't explain everything the way I should have. But like, what specifically is coming up for you? What specifically is keeping you from being less than 100% certain that this is really what you need? Because I know it, but, you know, I need to do my job and explain it to you that it's going to work, right? So like, what specifically do you think is making this not going to work? Now, back to the fear. So because when I ask that, I'm either going to isolate an objection that's real, and then that's like a little inch, like I think about this like squeezing the orange.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make the juice come out. So if like real juice comes out, I can handle that. Like if a concrete objection comes out, I handle it, tie down, new agreement, and then go back, right? But a lot of times with the fear thing, the way it shows up is they're like, I just don't know. They'll be like, I don't know. You know, they don't say it like that, but they'll whiffle waffle again. And the way you get them to admit it is you just be like, just be honest with me, is it just a little bit of nerves? Are you just a little bit nervous?
That's great.
So I give them the objection. Yeah. I see it in them. So like they don't say it, but if I'm focused, if I have my whole attention, like a meditation, rested onto the prospect, I see it in their body language. So I'll be like, dude, it's just a little bit I don't say it's a little bit of fear. I say,
nerves
a little bit
is
of nerves.
Great.
I like the word.
What
a little bit of
great
nerves.
word, yeah.
And they'll be like, yeah, it's just a little bit of nerves. I'll be like, well, good.
Because nobody wants to admit they're afraid.
Yeah. So if they're like, yeah, I think it's just a little bit of nerves. I'm like, good. Look, I would think you were a little crazy if this didn't make you a little bit nervous. But here's the way I look at it. Nothing ever great in this world was built by somebody who wasn't a little bit nervous at first. So the real question is not like, what are we going to do about the nerves? The real question is like, who are you going to be in this moment? Because there's two types of people. Like right now, you know, there's 1% of people, like you want to make $1 million a year. That's like top 0.1% of people. And then there's everybody else. Do you know what separates those two types of people? It's they bump up to this glass wall of nerves and fear. And the difference is who can actually break through and feel the fear and do it anyways. And who are the people who let the fear guide you. So which one of those two people are you going to be? Yeah.
Bro. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's so good. What are the objections that most weak sales guys are running into, like at the end of the call?
So if you're weak, you'll get,
Like top three.
Can you send me something?
We get this in real estate. It's send me an offer. I'll look at your offer. Send me an offer. Means I didn't do a good job. So that for you and a lot of your industries, like, yeah, send me something. Send me a brochure.
Send me something. That means I want to get off the call. I don't know what you said. I want to get off the call. Well, I can actually, a lot of these ones are not one. I mean, you can handle them at the end. They're just tough. So like, can you send me something? Can I speak to one of your clients? I need to think about it. Can go either way. But like
Meaning
a lot of
sometimes it's a legitimate concern. Other times it's not.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I think I need to think about it could just be, like there's certain women that that's the way they are, they feel a lot. And you can, if you're paying any level of attention at all to your freaking prospect, which some people don't, like these people are obvious. You can just tell they're like, they need, like they get information and then it like digests. That's almost how I think about it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with giving that person 24 hours. But a lot of requests for more information are just people wanting to get off the phone. The main reason that happens is because, you ever heard the term mansplaining?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like, or no, maybe that's not the right term for this, but regardless, what happens is a lot, you remember when I was talking about you need to make a point and usually every 45 seconds you need to check in.
Yeah.
And your pitch shouldn't be an anvil drop. It should be a dialogue.
Yeah.
So like the worst thing you can ever do, and this is like taught by some people, is, okay, I'm going to tell you everything about what we do. Just hold your questions at the end, right? Like, don't do that.
No.
You want your pitch almost to be a conversation, not a pitch. It shouldn't even feel like a pitch. But what happens is if you're talking to somebody who's like a beginner and then you start talking super high level and you're talking a lot and you're talking really fast and then you're not doing these check-ins because like you're not laying the bricks, you're not getting the understanding. A lot of times, and you've probably been on calls like this where you're like, holy, like this, it might not even be like you've don't like the salesperson or it might not even be that you're not interested. You're just like, dude, I have no idea what the fuck just happened.
Yeah.
So just send me something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes my tax guy from Do Wealth, he's really smart and he'll like be breaking down this deal or like this tax strategy to me and he talks so fast and I'll be like, dude, can you just send me an email? I'm like, I don't know what you just said. I'm like, I'm like really busy. Can you just send me an email? Cause I feel dumb because I have no idea what you just said. Yeah. Like XYZ in the tax code and this and that. And I'm like, can you just put this in an email? Because I'm probably going to upload it to Claude. Yeah. So it's not necessarily like the prospect hates you. They just might be like, somewhere in the pitch, they just thought, I don't understand this. I'm going to get information. And then like, I am going to think about it.
I just want to be polite and get off the phone.
Yeah. So that's a very common one.
Okay. What about price?
Well, so the way price works is, let's say I drop the investment and then you're like, dude, I really want to do it. I just got to figure it out to make, or you might say, dude, I really want to do it. I just don't think I can afford it. I say, dude, no problem at all. So just to be clear, so we can answer the most important question, money and everything aside, do you want to do this? Like, do you believe that what we laid out is 100% what you need to get your business to X, Y, and Z? And again, I'm watching their body language. I don't want this. I want kind of the still head. I want yes, right? And then, so if they say yes, that's the first tie down. The second one, I'll say, okay, great. Money aside, then you're 100% in. And then I'll say, okay, great. Well, look, most of our clients, they do it up front. But for certain people like you who are 100% in, and it's really just a way to make it work financially, there is times where we break it up. But in order for me to tell you kind of what's available there, everything is all customized and I have to get it approved by the manager. So are you open to having an honest conversation financially, getting everything on the table so we can see if there's a way to make this work now, or at the very least, we can create a game plan for us to work together to this in the future.
So good.
Right? So what I'm doing there is there's a lot of stuff I did there, but the main thing is I'm getting permission. So then they're like, yes. And I'll be like, okay, great. So like, let's lay out your finances and just be open and honest with me. So then I ask 3 questions. I say, this is like more in a coaching example, like there's certain stuff that you wouldn't do this, but I'll say, okay, so what's your net income in cash in the next 30 days after expenses, et cetera, whatever, what's going to be left over in 30 days? That's a good question because it lets me know what second payment they can make, as well as you'll see the next question is a little bit harder hitting. So I want to get them in a pattern of answering my question. So they'll say whatever. Then I'll say, okay, great. And what's your cash on hand right now exactly? And you got to just say it, right? So you're literally going to find out. I mean, I will have them pull up Chase and tell me what's in the bank account, okay? And so a lot of times what they'll say, barely anything. I know. And I'm not asking what you can spend right now, but I'm trying to build a plan. Like, I want you to at least leave with a plan so you can work towards this. So, checking, savings, et cetera, what's actually available. And you just got to straight face say it.
Oh, yeah.
If you have baggage and you bring it on, if you think it's weird, they think it's weird. But remember, at this stage...
I say this to people all the time. If you make it weird, it's going to be weird.
Yeah,
if you don't, it's
remember
good.
At this stage, because people think this is aggressive, but you got to remember, at this stage, they have actually told me now 3 times that they really want to do it.
And they've been on a phone call with you or Zoom for an hour, 45 minutes.
It's not like I'm like asking somebody who doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
What's in your bank account? I mean, they told me 3 times, I really want to do it. It's seriously just money, but if I could do it, it's going to change my life. Okay, I'm going to ask you what's in your bank account. So I get that number. A lot of times they'll be like, they'll say something like $2,000. I always assume that they're telling me, because when they ask that question, they'll tell you what they can spend, not what's available. Those are 2 different things. There's times like you've probably been in this where you're like some big expenses have come up and you're like, babe, we don't have nothing right now. We're not spending anything.
I just did this last week. I was like, we got to pay for a whole brand new pool. Don't spend $1.
Yeah. I'm like,
meanwhile, we got $1 million or something.
I know. There's been some times where I go to the grocery store. I'm like, we're not paying for that.
Yeah.
Like, we can't afford that.
Meanwhile, you got $100,000 sitting in the checking account.
Yeah. Or a lot more than that. So, cash on hand. Then I'll ask about credit. Okay. So I kind of had to they kind of had to undress in front of me a little bit there. So then what I do is I say, okay, great. And you really want to do this, right? Because what I basically did is I created when they got really vulnerable there, it kind of puts me in a little bit of a sales frame. So I got to get them to come back in on their own accord. So saying, you really want to do this, right? Right. Now, once I know all their money, what's going to happen is they might not be able to do it, or it might not be the right fit for them. And I'll tell them no. Or I'll tell them, like I said earlier, we'll create a game plan to work for this in the future. So we'll create a game plan to work for this in the future, and they will come back and maybe they'll buy. But let's say they can do it. It just can't be the full pay. It's got to be a 2 pay, or it's got to be a 3 pay, or maybe I got to do a low payment, and then let's say it's a $13K thing. I got to do 3K, then 5K, 5K, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So then I give them a plan that I know they can do, and I'll try to weight it a little bit to like the edge of it might be close, but I give them a plan that technically the funds are there to do. And I'll say it like this. I'll say, well, look, just being honest. So again, do you really want to do this, right? Right. Okay. So look, I don't think the best thing for you is to go, 15K, drop this on a credit card and just do this in one shot. Like, I wouldn't even allow you to do that. But I also don't think the best thing, based on what we talked about earlier with X, Y, and Z, is to do nothing. So what I'd be willing to do for you is we can break it into 2. That way you can come in for half down now and get X done, get Y done, get this done. That way in 30 days, when that second payment comes around, you've already this, you've already that, you've already this, and you have so much momentum, it's almost like it's an afterthought.
Yeah.
But if I was willing to do that for you, are you willing to move forward right now? Okay, so you see how you asked, how do you handle financial objections, right? Do you see how, basically, that whole thing I did, I could have just said, do you want a 2 pay?
Yeah.
But you see how I set all of that up to where now when because basically my payment plans are my negotiating trades at the close. So you see how, number 1, when I gave you the payment plan, I know you can do it. You can't tell me you can't do it. I know you can do it. Second, when I gave it to you, I said, if I'm willing to do that for you, are you willing to move forward right now? So the best closings are little trades.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is I'm trading better terms to you for a decision now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that's valuable to me. Now, a lot of times what'll happen is, what I try to do is I try to edge on a little bit more of something I know they can't do. Because people like concessions. They like good deals.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of no, they can't do a 2 pay, but I know they could do the 3. So I'll push for the 2 pay, knowing they really can't do it. We'll kind of have tension.
Yeah.
And then what I'll do is I'll relieve the tension and be like, well, and just to be sure, you do really want to do it, right? Okay. You're making me bend over backwards, but look, if you give me a case study and if you come in right now, then I'll break it into 3 for you. But you got to give me that case study. And you also, in your case study, you got to say my name specifically because, like, you know, Pace gets all the credit. I get no credit. So you got to give me some credit in that case study. But if I can do that,
it
will you
sounds
move forward
silly,
right now?
but it's so critically important.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is that so when I do the 2Pay and I know they kind of can't do it, and I'm building all of that tension, then what happens is when I finally give them the thing that they can do, they want to take it because it releases the tension.
Yes.
You know, and like Cialdini talks about this too, is like your second offer is more likely to get taken than your third, and your third offer is more likely to get taken than your second. So I'm kind of playing off that as well. But yeah, the framework and summary was tie down number 1, you know, money on the side. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think it's going to help you get to blank? Tie down number 2 is, okay, great. Sorry, do it twice. So clarify. Money aside, you're 100% in. And then I get permission. A lot of people like you, most people do it up front, but for people like you who really want to do it, sometimes we break it up. But then, you know, how we do that is all customized. So are you open to having an honest conversation, et cetera? So I give permission. And also in that language, I say, so either we could do it now or we could create a game plan for you to do this in the future.
So many people are doing this wrong.
That game plan thing,
Yeah.
what I'm doing there is I'm saying, basically, look, we're going to do this, but we might not even be able to do it. So I'm basically telling them I'm okay with there not being a sale, which diffuses the pressure of them telling me all their money.
Yeah.
Then when I go through the money, I go through it in that sequence. And I also assume when they give me the cash on hand and all this stuff, that a lot of times they'll use vague language or they'll tell you what they can spend. So then you got to clarify, you got to get everything out on the table. Then from there, and you really want to do this right, I get them to come closer. Okay, great, because I don't think the best thing for you is this. I don't think the best thing for you is this. So, and then I make the trade. Right?
So good.
So that's kind of the summary of that.
What's the psychological thing about people wanting to get a deal? You know what I'm saying? Like,
they just do. I mean, we like deals.
I know.
You like deals.
So I have this interesting thing where a couple of years ago I was transitioning. This is 2017. I was transitioning out of being in the living room negotiating with sellers. Mm-hmm. And I was starting to get on podcasts, so I was getting really, really busy. And one of my gals that was in the office, she says, can I start taking some of these appointments? I go, yes, but a couple of critical things. Number 1, you're going to get leads that are saying, I'm good at this price. It's okay to contract at that price, but don't give them that price in the first conversation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so I go Florida, I'm on a podcast. We get this lead that comes in. The seller says in the intake, I'm good at $200,000, I'll walk away. I look at that number, I go, $200,000 works, but do not offer $200,000. Even if we contract at $200,000, do not contract at $200,000.
Yeah.
So I go through the process and I go, look, this is like real estate investor 101. You go into the house, what's the number that you'd be willing to, part with? Okay, sounds good. I need to go get approval. That's way higher than what we're approved for. Let me call my supervisor and see if I can move it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then still be $10,000 below and go, look, my supervisor approves at 190. And then even if we sign at 200, make it feel like it was the most agonizing thing for us to get up to that thing. So they feel 100%. Like they got to do good.
Yeah.
So Anna, she goes, I get off the podcast. I go, hey, how'd the appointment go? She goes, good. I got it at 200,000. I go, but you never called me. Oh, I didn't need to. He was ready to sign right there. I go, Anna, he's canceling. He's going to call us tomorrow and cancel the freaking contract. She goes, no, he was so excited. I go, no, in the moment he felt like he beat you, tonight when he's got his head on his pillow, he's going to feel like he lost.
Yep, 100%. Well, the thing is, salespeople don't sell the thing that makes them the most money or therefore you the most money. They just sell the easiest thing there is to sell, right? So the reason for that is because the reinforcement loop of a salesperson is not how much money am I making today? It's the yes.
Yeah.
And it's trying not to get a rejection, right? That's why
they're so afraid of rejection. They're just chasing a yes in any possible way.
It's why, theoretically, if we had a perfect sorting system for leads, we could, if you had a $10,000 thing and a $2,000 thing, if there was a perfect sorting system for leads, all these people will go to 10K, then the people who truly couldn't do the 10K would go to 2K. The issue is just when you add in human psychology, what happens is when you have a downsell, it cannibalizes so much of the 10K you know, because again, it's just, especially as a salesperson, is it easier to do all of that wrestling, or is it easier to just take the path of least resistance? It's just easier to take the path of least resistance.
Always.
Especially, you know, to give them a little bit of slack when you're on 25 calls a week and, you know, today's like your 4th call and like you got beat up on the last call and you're like, dude, I haven't had a sale in 2 days. Like, just give me a yes. Like, I need a yes. I need to get my, you know, mojo
The
rolling.
juice
So a lot of
back,
time to
yeah.
just remove that option.
We don't have a low ticket.
Yeah, good.
I have a lot of people who criticize us about it.
Nah, I think it's good.
And even I fought with Josiah on it multiple times. Like, we should have something. And he's like, no, because what's going to happen is it will cannibalize that.
Yeah.
That's the thing we believe in. That's the thing that's going to transform their lives. That's the thing that we're going to sell. I'm like, okay, got it. And it's worked out obviously very, very, very well for us. But me, even as a salesperson, I'm the same way. I'm like, just give me a yes. I'd rather stack up 5 small yeses than deal with 1 freaking no.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot of sense. And anyway, that call, what ended up happening is I called that seller and I said, hey, look, I'm the owner of the company. Let me tell you what happened. I told Anna to not give you 200 grand. Even though 200 grand is a good number for me, I didn't want to give it to you because I knew that you would be canceling the next day if we gave it to you too early. Luckily in real estate, once they sign a contract with you, they can't cancel unless I breach contract. But I said, there's 2 ways we can do this. A, we can just move forward with 200 grand knowing that that was the number I was going to make you get me up to. Or B, I got to sue you for specific performance, which is a specific real estate law. And he was like, okay, well, I'll move forward with you. He's like, why didn't she just give me a lower offer? I go, I don't know. And he goes, I probably would have felt better about the sale. I go, I know you would have.
Yeah.
And so I wish salespeople understood that. It also, you know, when you don't go through this psychological arc, which you just went through beautifully, the chances of them making that 2nd or 3rd payment also go down, even if you were able to maneuver and like get them to do a lower payment option.
Yeah.
If you don't take them what you just went through, they're not making a 2nd or a 3rd payment because they don't feel loyal to the company that just did a favor for them.
It's the going above and beyond,
Right.
When that payment comes around, it's a lot different if they're like, well, you know, whatever, it was just given to me, versus, you know, so-and-so, like,
Man, Cole went out of his way.
They went out of their way, right?
Yeah.
And you don't need to necessarily do, I mean, I know in your industry you do the manager thing. You can do that just with your, like, a salesperson could just do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just have to be disciplined. It's about, like, I don't know if it's the marshmallow test or what. It's like delay the gratification for 5 minutes. You know, you're going to be okay. They're not going to hang up on you.
Yeah.
But they want the deal.
Man, I wish
You
I
know,
was.
they want the
I wish I
yes.
was trained by you, bro. I wish I was trained by you. You don't train anybody directly anymore, do you?
No, I mean, there's one team I work with every now and then, one-on-one. I kind of just do it for fun.
If I was in your mastermind, what would I expect to get out of that?
Well, we do 3 times a year. And you know, the next one's in Scotland, for instance, so we try to make it a little fun, a little different. 3 days, half activities, half this, or half content, like you were talking about. What I really try to make the mastermind for is specifically for people who are kind of in the online services economy industry or the high ticket industry, who are trying to go from either 100K a month to $1 million a month or $1 million a month and beyond, right? And so a lot of what I talk about is kind of what we've been talking about here is the sales process, sales systems, sales ops, sales teams, setter teams, all of that stuff. But I also kind of break down and just share each quarter, not each quarter, but every 4 months, what's working with us across marketing, sales, operations, fulfillment, finance. Sometimes things that are just like, here's what I learned. You know, here's some of the breakthroughs and fuck ups that I've had.
Yeah.
And then I try to have either our top clients who've broken past $1 million to $5 million a month or whatever it is. I try to have them speak and share their stories. I try to have, you know, people like you speak and share your genius, you know, and so on and so forth. Or I try to bring in, you know, experts to speak and also just facilitate a good network. So
You guys are $70K a year?
yeah.
Bro, like one relationship in a room like that is $1 million.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Have you thought about making a higher tier at some point?
Well, there is higher tiers. And part of that is when you bolt on, like we have unlimited recruiting packages where you recruit as much as you want.
Oh, that's
for
cool.
a certain amount. So like that's like a mastermind plus that. And then I'm thinking about, especially as my organic has been doing better, doing like an 150 to 200, 250K thing. But maybe that's just me and like 10 really badass people. And and like I like training sales teams. So I mean it's actually fun for me. And I haven't done it since back when I worked with you guys. So like, I think 2020 was my last full year of doing that. And so I train my own team because that's fun, but I love training just like the regular salesperson because I can just come in as like a force of nature. They're just like, who is this guy? And it's just fun to, and I can, my team, I'm kind of inching out little things each day, obviously. If I come into a random team, I can just make a huge, I can change the way they sell that day, and the way they show up and all that stuff. And so I thought about bringing that back. Like, maybe I'll just like have some sort of package where I get on a call a week, not a call a week, but maybe a call every other week or something like that. And I just run their meeting, train their team.
Bro.
It'd be fun.
If you create something like that, please sign us up.
Okay.
Please, 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 please. We would love to do that. What's a book that any guy, maybe a guy like me, right, runs a team already. What's a book that you suggest I read?
Well, have you read Ready, Fire, Aim?
No.
Well, that's the book from Mark Ford. It's Michael Masterson's like the pen name for whatever reason. But that's really how they scaled Agora from 0 to 100 million a year. And then, in that is kind of like you can see the initial seeds of how they got to over $1 billion. That's probably one of my favorite business books. Outside of that, what is good? Dude, I mean, just as a recency bias, and this is why I brought up Napoleon, but I read his biography and then another book that was a biography by him that was really small. I recommend the small one. But even though there's not like, you're not going to get a business tactic through that. But seeing just how big he thought and how bold and audacious that he was is like insanely inspiring. And it makes you look at your day-to-day problems like they're just not that big of a deal.
I mean, you look at guys like that had no technology.
Yeah.
They had nothing but mud and freaking horses, and they went and dominated countries.
Yeah. Well, he conquered all of Europe.
Yes.
He basically conquered all of Europe. I'm not saying he was like a great person. There's a lot of flaws, but
name one person that doesn't have flaws.
It's just what he achieved was so insane by the time he was 31 or 32. So it's pretty crazy. And so a lot of times, like, I read stuff like that because for whatever reason, it changes my energy.
Right.
Like I start to show up a little bit different just because I'm more inspired and I have a little bit more like pep in my step. And, especially as your business gets like to a certain level. And then you also have access to like all of these people. You're not usually like reading for like the tactics as much because you can kind of get that through other avenues. And so I like stuff like that. Like that book's really good. I mean, I've gone through a lot of the Elon stuff. Obviously, he's a beast. Yeah. But I would
Do you have a book that you would have your sales guys read?
Well, The Inner Game of Tennis is really good. That one's really good. There's another book called Straight Line Leadership. And it's a book by this guy. He must have a coaching company. And it's old school. But he talks, it's like a personal development, personal success book. But it's kind of hardcore. And it's not like, he really is like very blunt. And it's funny, I have my sales team read that just because that book, the way he does these reframes and the way he like kind of coaches you throughout the book and addresses your mindset, they're almost all like objection handles.
Straight line leadership?
Straight line leadership. Yeah. And it's a pretty easy read. It's really good. It'll pump you up. But like some of the chapters and the frameworks that he takes you through and how he's like coaching you, it's like you could use those on your prospects. And if you read it as you're a sales guy, you'll start saying
Bro,
that
was this
stuff.
written in like 1985?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
Okay, I'll pick this one.
Yeah,
up.
the sales like mindset all-time greats. There's not a lot of good sales books for like today's day and age, in my opinion. But like Relentless by Tim Grover, like that's a good one
Love
for
Tim
sales
Grover.
people to lead.
Bro, look at the price on this book.
That one, no way.
It's out of print.
Oh my God.
So they're selling.
There's used like new though.
Used for $75 for a book.
I get it.
That must be a great book.
Yeah.
4.8 stars. All right, I'm getting that one.
Nice. That book, Relentless, and then I said the other one, Inner Game of Tennis. That's a good one. There's 177 mental toughness habits of the world class. That's a good one. Yeah, that's good for salespeople, especially in our industry, because a lot of the objection handling comes from you'll pull from that book, those books, because it's like a lot of mindset stuff. Like a lot of our objections are like mindset.
What's a habit that the top sales guys have like after hours that other guys don't have?
What I used to do is, I mean, this is like the common, I think Mark Cuban said, like, you work all day, then you sharpen saw after you're done working. But when I would finish work, and I would even do this before work, I always review my game tape. But I'll give you a very key thing. So I would do this in the mornings, actually. So this isn't after hours, but it's before. I wake up super early, so I'm more of a before person. And so what I used to do when I was full-time selling is I would listen to a win a day. So on 1.5x speed, because 2x speed's like you can't even, if you're working out or you're doing something, you can't even hear what you're saying. So 1.5 times speed, I just listen to myself closing somebody. And I would rotate through. I had a list of top 20 best hits, and I just rotate through the best hits.
So good.
Occasionally I throw one in there, but anytime I had a banger, I'm like, this is going on the playlist. And so I would work out, and because what a sales guy, what happens is some of them, depending on how emotional they could be, they could have 3 bad days, and they're did I forget how to sell?
Yeah.
What is going on with me?
It's the leads.
Yeah. What is going on with me right now?
The marketing department sucks.
And what happens is most salespeople, like, it's natural to have this, even when I was at my peak, I could have 10 calls in a row that didn't close, and I could close the next 5. There was one week I remember specifically where I didn't have anything until Thursday. Thursday I got 7.
Yeah.
It's just weird how it works. And so, win a day. So the reason that's so important is you're just reminding yourself how simple it is.
Yeah.
Okay, it's simple. I know how to do it. I'm really good at it. I know how to do it. I'm really good at it. And you're just kind of like training your brain also on what a good call sounds like, so you can kind of lock in that as a new baseline. If you want to, if you've ever taken a call and you're like, man, I wish all the sales calls I took were that good. Okay, great. Just listen to it every day.
Yeah,
I know that sounds so simple, but dude, it works so well.
Because I think what a lot of sales guys do, me included, is I will reinvent the way I said something prior to keep myself interested.
Yep.
Meanwhile, it was the line that got them excited.
Right. Well, David Ogilvy says the first person to get bored of your marketing is you.
Yep, always.
Yeah.
Always.
Because people are a moving parade, they're not a standing parade.
Right.
So,
I could talk to you about organic and cold traffic probably in a whole nother podcast. That has been a big challenge for me over the last 6 or 7 years as I've learned how to be a marketer, that I would go, well, my audience needs something completely different. It's like, no, they don't, because the people that listened to you for 45 days, they moved on to a new thing or they converted. And now you got a whole new parade. Mm-hmm. You got a whole new group of people. And they haven't seen that ad. And they haven't seen that thing. And they haven't blah, blah, blah. There's a new group of people that came into your orbit because of that podcast that have never seen a single thing. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to tweak a line or a hook that worked well. And if you're listening to one win a day from your sales calls, you're going to be like, that's the line. I got to just keep saying it. Like Adele doesn't rewrite her songs every time she sings. You know what I'm saying? Like people come to see her sing that song because it evoked a certain emotion. And so for me, when I'm on a sales call, I go, yeah, but I said it that way before. People are going to hear it again. It's like, no, dude, it worked. Just keep doing it.
Nobody's heard it. Yeah. Who said that you want to find like the key to, some key to success, find something good to say and say it often?
Yeah.
I don't know who said that.
You did, bro.
They must have been smart.
They must have been really smart. I love that you do that too. My phone is full of voice memos of me in people's homes. So like all the way from 2013, when I got a hold of voice memos, I still do the thing. People are like, oh, get Plot or get the thing on your neck. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do it on my phone. So I put my phone upside down and I sit in an appointment. I just did this the other day. I'm now at a point where I'm like super gangster at this. Check this out. I now have the balls to just go tell a seller and a real estate agent. I'm in an appointment the other day and I go, hey, real estate agent, I want to review this conversation in a couple of days. Will you hold my phone and record this entire appointment?
Nice.
And so the other day I'm in this appointment and the agent is holding my phone for an hour and 4 minutes as I'm going through. This is the two sellers. This is the real estate agent. And I'm going through, come on, baby. Explaining, walking through the paperwork. Here's my pitch. Here's how do we do the thing. Get to the signature page. This is where you sign. And I now will re-listen to that all the way on the way home. I mean, it's good for my students too. I can go, here's me in an appointment.
Oh, yeah.
But the way I got really good was doing the one win a day thing of like, all right, I'm heading to an appointment. What was the magic thing I said earlier? Gosh, why did I say that? Why didn't I bring that up earlier? I can now hear what she was saying that I missed. Even though I closed her, she was saying a thing I didn't pick up on for 20 more minutes.
100%, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's the
There's
greatest
so much
thing
that
you
can
could
come
do
from that. Yeah.
So
it's
good.
huge. And it's fun.
It is fun. I mean, it can be laborious, but if you get obsessed with sales and you also get obsessed with the results that you bring, my final question is here. For the people that are like, sales is gross, do you have any advice for those people?
Well, nothing ever happens in the economy without somebody selling something, right? So, and it just depends. I mean, think about something you bought that you really like. Well, you were sold that thing. And so you should be thankful you were sold that thing because you really like it.
Yeah.
So a lot of that, and I'm not, again, like, I just try to find people who've already been through that, and that's who I work with day to day. So I'm not like Tony's going to be a better specialist, obviously, or even like Dean. Dean is a perfect example. He's really good at talking to the crowd who's a little bit scared to sell. You know, I'm kind of talking to this crowd. But with all those things, like, they've assigned a certain meaning to sales. So if you're trying to reframe yourself out of this, or if you're trying to reframe your team or somebody you like out of this, if you change the context, you change the meaning, right? So like, that's kind of what I did there is like, if you think about something you were sold that you were like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I just love this thing. Well, you were sold that no matter what, whether it's through advertising, a salesperson, or whatever, you know? And so if you change the context, you change the meaning, but that's what I would say. I don't have a spiffy saying for it.
Yeah, I think you bring up Dean. Dean's my favorite quote he says is, sales is a service.
Right.
And I'm like, it is a service. I think one of the best things you could do if you guys are a sales guy out there and you're trying to become a sales guy, or you're trying to do anything in sales and you have a sales team, one of the most important things you could do is show your sales team the outcome of one of the prospects, right? Like the testimonials. This changed my life. This was the greatest thing. What I love about these in-person events, right? Like, we have an in-person event here. Mm-hmm. Where's my sales team? On the other wall.
Yep.
And they're in person. So what we do is we have them pop in, they listen, they watch what happens, and they're like, I need to get people in this room.
Exactly.
I need to. And so showing your salesperson the actual outcome of what the prospect goes through, I think, is a really big one. But sales as a service is probably my favorite quote I've ever heard from Dean. And if you're not selling, you're not serving, is another one that he said as well, which is basically the same thing. It just is like, gosh dang, if I genuinely like people and I like serving them what they need, then I better get good at sales.
Yeah, and a good way to think about it is you're moving, like, sales is moving stuff forward.
Right.
Right? So as long as they need it, you don't want to move them forward on the wrong path they shouldn't be on. But as long as you're moving them forward is always good.
Yeah.
For people.
Well, my favorite thing of what we just talked about, and I'm going to have my team watch this, and I need you to create a more expensive offer so I can utilize you more. And I know I can text you anytime, but I want to pay my friends for stuff. My favorite thing that you brought up is actually challenging people during the close of like, well, you said this, and now you're saying this. I think the prospect really does need somebody to pull them through that, because they've got the psychological, like, prison, the analysis paralysis, and they're praying that somebody breaks them out of their BS, their belief systems. And a salesperson's job is to break people out of their BS.
Yep.
And that is I'm going to put that on replay in my sales room for like the next week and have them just listen to that part.
Yeah.
Because we do have people in this room, literally in this room, 300 people. There's a guy yesterday comes up to me and goes, I've been following you for 3 years. I talked to your enrollment team 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and a year ago. It wasn't until this person talked to me on the phone that I finally got in this room. Thank you.
Yeah. And did you ask him to text that person?
We're making a video with him today.
Okay. Because a good way, you know, if your client success team, they're the ones who experience all the results.
Right.
They got to get in the habit of being like, hey, that's really great. You know who needs to hear this?
Is your enrollment director.
Because they have no idea what's going on.
They don't.
And
once it's passed,
you still have his number, right? Because I'm telling you.
Bro, I'm changing that right now in my team.
Because these, like, if A is true, B is true. If a client sees something online or this thing on Reddit, or like one of their clients had a bad experience and refunded, it can throw the rep into a rut, right? But if that's true, at the same time, if they get the opposite of that, it can make their day, and then they're like, that's right, I need to get some people in this shit. Dude. You know? So that's a good thing because, you know, the CSM team, a lot of times, the coaching team, they're like, oh, the sales teams, you know, they're giving me this, they're giving me that, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to kind of ask them to do that one thing for the sales.
Bridge the gap. And also, you look at the prospect or the customer, the member in my community that joined after 3 years, right? And 3 different enrollment directors. There could be a variety of reasons why that happened, but he basically was like, I didn't join until this person made me believe this. And I'm like, can we do a video about this? I need the whole video, right? That was really good. But I told him, I said, I'm so sorry. He goes, why would you be sorry? I'm here. I'm happy. I go, because we robbed you of 3 years of your life by not serving you better. Like
100%.
3 years of your
Yeah.
life. And I go, imagine if you had joined 3 years ago, if I had somebody, challenge your belief system, where would you be in 3 years? He goes, dude, I'd probably have millions of dollars and this, that, and the other. And I'd have RV parks. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sorry. Because we could have done a better job on the front end.
100%.
Gosh, dude.
It is crazy too, especially when you think of what can happen in 3 years. I mean, there's 3 year time frames where I'm like a completely different person. So, that can
Okay,
happen with the prospects as
final
well.
question.
Yeah.
If you were going to start a new product right now to go out and sell, what do you feel like the environment in the world needs right now? Does it need more info sales? Does it need, maybe tech education for, what do you feel like is like the thing?
Is it a thing that I would personally
You.
want to do, or is it a thing that I just feel like is needed in the world?
What is the thing that's needed in the world in 2026 based on what your ecosystem tells you?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of going on very broad, and I can answer it in two different ways. I really think that people not understanding currency, like financial history and currency debasement, and how bad our economy is inflating since the 1970s and since we went off gold, and how like asset prices and all this stuff are going up. If you actually measure it in gold, it's not as big as you think it is. I mean, it still has gone up. And also like the affordability thing is not, the billionaires robbing you or whatever. And there's tons of reforms that could be happen, I'm sure, with taxes or whatever. But like the main thing is something neither party talks about because they want to spend more money and run bigger deficits, which is the inflation. And I think that if people could figure out like financial advice in terms of, and I don't know if this would be the most profitable offer. This is just like a message that I would want out there in terms of like what to do exactly with your income or what to do in terms of up-leveling your skill sets. So you're not going to get replaced by AI and you can actually make more money and then convert that into assets, because there's a clear difference in this country to where once you can own assets, and that doesn't have to be an RV park, right? But once you can own assets, you are literally in a different class. I mean, there's two classes, unfortunately, in the country. There's asset owners and there's people who don't own assets. I mean, that's what you do is really important, is because they can start to own that stuff without even the money.
Yeah.
And they can do it with their sweat equity.
Yeah.
So that's huge. So I think stuff like that is really good. But I think also like if you tied what you were doing into the everyday person to understand, like this is what the real problem is. It's not going to get any better. It's probably going to get worse. I have to do something about it. And the way I got to do something, I got to be an asset owner, not a wage earner, and you can earn a wage and then have some assets, I mean, if you're making $300,000 a year as a salesperson, I mean, technically that's
almost
a wage.
it's almost like Dave Ramsey, but actually teaching people how to get rich.
Yeah. Something like that. Like he's kind of teaching people to go from -1 to 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need like 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of advice I think is 1 to 10, portfolio construction, this and
That
that,
is
whatever.
so true.
So I
even
really,
me, I'm like 1 to 10.
Yeah. Well, we all are, because naturally,
Or I'm like
as,
0.
as-
I'm like 0 to 20.
yeah.
Right. Like, how do I get you filthy rich really fast type of thing with no money?
Because that's what interests us.
But
I think that
interests
first
us.
step.
Also, there's a lot of people that are afraid of what I offer because they're like, that seems really big. The 0 to 1 is a big deal.
Yeah. And if
Gosh
we had,
damn it, that's
if
the
we
name of the
had
product, dude.
More
0 to 1.
If we had more 0 to 1, then businesses like ours would have more customers. Because that's the thing I'm most worried about is,
Yeah, because you've got the K shape. Right?
our customers are going to go away. Like we got to have some customers, and people got to have money. It's way different
Adler,
than it
are we
is.
starting a new product called 0 to 1 or what?
But there's
My
something
gosh.
along that where, whether it is through real estate or just through anything, skill development, I don't think people have that mindset shift because that's not something you hear in the news. Like nobody talks about, like you don't see a news headline of, okay, I mean, you do see it about the deficit, but people don't connect like the average everyday person doesn't understand that a deficit means that there's more government spending, which means there's more dollars, and then that's coming in and inflating the economy, right? They don't understand that. And so I think that if people could make that connection, they could at least play the game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, obviously the game is bad. I think maybe
The game's the game.
I think it is the game.
Right.
You can only vote. So if you can only vote, you got to play the game.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day the game will be fixed. Who knows? But that's one thing. I mean, in terms of, that's like what I wish was out there more, and I wish people knew, because I think that would really help them. For me, I mean, I'm looking at businesses, I have a very difficult building a recruiting business is hard. And then on
a
top
lot
of
of
that,
humans,
it's
man.
a lot of labor, and we're automating. Like we built a whole like internal AI software that runs our recruiting division, but I still need people to convince you to stop being, stop working for this person and go work for this person. Or like, hey, would you be interested in relocating? There's sales in that. By the way, most of like 90% of my recruiters are just salespeople.
Of course.
Yeah. And they're way better.
I would
way
even
better.
argue they're probably that's the hardest sale of all time, because you're convincing somebody to quit a job
Yeah.
to then go take another job, and a lot of times a new industry and in a new location. Like that's a really challenging job.
So a lot of I've had relational based sales guys that just, they couldn't get the kind of leadership down at the very end of like the close. They're really good recruiters because they work really hard. They do more outreaches. They talk to more people. They power out the interviews. They're like challenging the person. Like, dude, you've been in this job forever. And, you don't like it. We've had 3 conversations. So it's funny. Like when we shifted, because we went through a phase of like, when we first started the recruiting, just hiring anybody. And then we started, okay, we need to hire corporate recruiters from real recruiting companies, but they had good systems. They didn't have work ethic.
Yeah.
And then but then the nice thing about that is we got the systems, and then we just started hiring salespeople, and they're really good. It's super fun. So anyways, I got this great recruiting department, and I'm trying to cross section. Okay, what's going on with AI? What's probably going to be here the longest? Where are the labor shortages? And also, where are the businesses that have money? And I'm like an ads to phone call guy.
Yeah.
That's like I'm a beast at that. And so can I get them through ads? And so like I would like, for me, the next thing I'm starting is either like I think I mentioned this earlier, but either like a recruiting division for healthcare, a recruiting division for
like nurses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a massive shortage.
Massive shortage.
Yeah.
And same with HVAC techs, because they're all boomers.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of the different trade services, roofing sales.
So are you going to attack the person that should become a tech or should become a nurse?
No. I want the business owner.
Oh, you want the business owner to then
Yeah.
hire you to recruit those people?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll build a pipeline, then get certified, But no, the recruits don't have to pay us. So, they just come in. And so I'd like to have,
So you get an HVAC company that says, I need 5 reps. That's your person. You go and find those reps for them.
Yeah.
And those should be existing reps, or you're going to help create new ones?
No, I mean,
Or maybe you'll work with like a tech.
Yeah. So we're not going to we're obviously not going to be a trade school.
Yeah.
Right. But
you'll work with trade schools.
And yes, exactly.
Yeah.
However, I think that would be a good business to have.
I agree. I was just talking to Josiah about this the other day.
Yeah,
we should start a trade
buy
school.
a trade school or start a trade school. I don't know what that looks like, but I've somewhere in the future, I'm like, that would be a decent idea. But no, the way you would do it for somebody like, nurses, et cetera, they have to be licensed at least federally, right? And then there's certain state things that you got to deal with. For techs, for HVAC specifically, there's like the EPA 60. So they have to get that. They can get that within under 30 days. So it depends on if you're hiring your first tech, it probably is going to be, you got to take somebody who's a little greener. Mm-hmm. And they got to take the EPA 60. You got to ramp them up. It's going to be a little bit longer ramp period. But hey, because we know leadership and coaching and all this stuff, and we can help the tech with generating replacement leads on the sales process side, we can kind of assist with that. If it's Apex, for instance, which we worked with Apex Roofing, but not Apex HVAC. And so if it's like Apex, which is one of the biggest private equity roll-ups in that space, they're going to want people with experience. So then that's more of a poaching function. Yeah. But we're not going to be like a training academy.
So genius.
Yeah. So I would like to eventually become a recruiting conglomerate opposed to just sales, even though I love sales. But sales will apply to everything we do.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Whether it's roofing sales or whether it's, there's certain sales elements with the HVAC. And then even with healthcare, that's a fulfillment-based hire. But if we can get, let's say, cash pay clinics in, you probably don't know this about me, but I had a 50-50 partnership where we scaled a cash pay clinic from $50K a month to $3 million a month in 14 months.
Gosh,
so
dang.
I know that space really well. And so I know how to market and sell in that space, in the medical spa type of space. So we can cross-sell that back into our thing. But the reason, remember what I was talking about with messaging?
Yeah.
The reason I want to go after fulfillment-based hires is because if you are drowning in fulfillment, you have demand. And if you have demand, you have money. Whereas a lot of people, when they reach out for a salesperson, they're hoping for the growth of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They're not solving for the pain of today. And so that's a strategic thing I'm doing just to try to get better lead quality and AOB. if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
of course.
But then, if you need fulfillment, once the fulfillment bottleneck's solved, what are you going to do next? Sales. So they'll all work together, but that's kind of how I'm thinking because, the sales recruiting's doing good. It'll do like 35 million this year. But
What kind of client do you not want to call you guys?
in general,
Yeah.
Well, for sales specifically, it's people, we could help these people if they're in our industry and they're like a coach, consultant, or whatever. We can help them with the lead gen aspect of things. But ideally for the sales recruiting, they have to have some sort of demand because I can't place a salesperson if they have no leads.
So they should have their own cold funnel set up. They should have an organic brand to some
Yeah.
degree. They should have some demand before you hire.
We do
a
kind of
direct-
have, it's not a downsell, it's just like a different offer for the same price that basically helps them, if it's an industry I know really well, like I know coaching really well.
Then you can help them.
Then we have like a separate department that works with them and helps them get the leads so then I can place some salespeople.
I didn't know you did that.
Well, I have to because a lot of the people who reach out for a salesperson don't have the leads because they think the salesperson's their
And how
issue.
do people reach out to you?
Ads.
Only ads.
Well, ads, organic, people know me, stuff like that. But mainly all of our demand is ads and then some organic.
Okay. Organic versus ads in 2 years. Where are you at on it? 50-50?
I think it's a not either or. I mean, the framing
No, I'm
makes
saying
sense.
like where are you allocating 70% of your time to organic, or are you 20%? I know right now you're ramping up a lot more organic.
So I think these things, the way I look at it in terms of my time and attention, I mean, I have a great marketing team that's spending a lot of the time on the ads. So I don't need to really spend time on the ads outside of like higher level strategy. Hey guys, maybe we should go this direction. Underneath that, they're the ones implementing. So yeah, for me, I'm going to spend more time on organic because I think for me that's lacking a lot. And we've kind of been getting a lot more momentum recently with that, which is good. But the way I see it is it's not going to be ads or organic. It's going to be like whatever
Collaboration.
cool term that is of combined. Because like what's working really well, what I've seen for certain brands, is when they have a big brand presence, but they use ads. Because like I'll give you an example. I can tell you about who this is after the podcast, but the only client I really work with one-on-one, you would know who it is. They're huge, okay? Like everybody knows who this person is. One time I was looking at their ads, and I was like, wow, these ads suck. I was like, if I ran these, I would get 0 ROAS. Like I was like, these can't be working. And then it just came up like a couple months later. I was like, how are those ads working? And they're like, dude, they told me the metrics on the ads and the CAC on the ads. And I'm like, this is kicking my ass. Like, this is 10 times better. Not 10 times, but a lot better than what I'm doing. And that's when I realized, well, the reason why is because even if the ad is not that good, even if it's
organic
cold,
trust.
even if it's cold targeting, right? The brand is so big that ad, in Facebook, they think they're delivering the first impression. That's like the 27th impression.
Yeah.
So their engagement's higher, their CPMs are lower, all of that stuff. And so there's a huge benefit to that, So I think it's I think what's going to win is when you can do both. I think it's part of the reason you're probably doing so well is they probably see, maybe they go to an event, they see organic, they see the brand, and they're kind of floating around and an ad gets them.
Yeah.
But that ad was their 20th impression.
By far,
not their first impression. And then they show up way differently too.
I've never had to be too good on ads.
Yeah.
I just haven't had to be. And it's because they've seen me organically, right?
Exactly.
I'm doing a live. I'm doing this. I'm on a podcast. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm on Instagram all day long. I'm blah, blah, blah. Then people, again, sometimes they don't even recognize my name, but they've seen me 25 times.
Yeah.
And then
it's like
an
that
ad
guy
comes in. Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
And a lot of times when they see the ad, they're like, so what does this guy, what's he sell? It's like they already kind of know you and they're like, well, I want to figure out what this guy's thing is. Like, what's the
Gosh,
gist?
I wish I understood this stuff like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I wish I did too. I mean, I really slept. I didn't do anything serious with organic outside of like sloppy, just half-assed YouTube videos because I felt like I had to put them out until really this year. But this year I was like, man, I'm going to like put a year and go hard at this.
Yeah.
And it's doing pretty well so far. I could go harder, but I'm also trying to build these new divisions.
Yeah. Plus you got a family and you got things going on. You can't just work 20 hours.
But I like the podcast because it's less prep.
Yeah.
And I'm a good network guy. I have a lot of big network. So that's been fun. And, it's gone well.
You're the freaking man.
Well, you're the man,
Appreciate
dude.
you, dude. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
This was freaking great.
One of the most common questions I get is, what title company do I use? What title company am I using in Arizona, Atlanta, California, Texas, whatever? The answer for many years was a different title company in every state. because not every state handles transactions the same way. Now, the answer is one title company. It's Creative Title and Escrow. Go to getcreativetitle.com/podcast. You can learn how they will do sub-2 deals, seller finance deals, cash transactions, gator deals, double close, transactional lending, whatever, even novation agreements. There's really nothing that Creative Title and Escrow can't do. To learn how brand new investors are using Creative Title all the way up to the biggest players in the industry, head over to getcreativetitle.com/podcast.